All right, welcome to the website section of the training. And so inside of this video, we're going to be talking about something known as minimal viable branding. Okay, so we're going to talk about exactly what that is. And for you specifically as a business owner who's just getting into the game, why it's important for you to understand minimum viable branding or minimal viable branding. Okay, because the very first thing that you need to make sure that you're asking yourself as you start this journey as becoming a new business owner is, hey, what is important for me to focus on at the level of income of where I am at? Because here's the thing, as you ascend to different levels of the game, right? So it's going to be very different when you're at $0 and what you're going to focus on in order to get to, let's say, $5,000 a month. And then from $5,000 a month to get to $10,000 a month is going to be very different. And then to be able to get to, let's say, $50,000 a month and then get to $100,000 a month, right? What you're going to focus on when you're at a six-figure level is going to be very different than what you are going to focus on when you are at a seven-figure level and then when you're trying to get to an eight-figure level, right? So each and every single level of the game is going to have a different focus. And so this is where a lot of people who are just getting started off in the game actually mess up, because they will look at people in the marketplace, people who are in the game who are either further ahead or in a different market or in a different game and say, oh, that person is focusing on that, so therefore I should also be focusing on that as well. And so the biggest thing I want to emphasize to you inside of this specific training really, really quickly is the difference between direct response and branding. Okay, so direct response is when you are exactly what it sounds like, getting a response directly from the customer immediately, right? So think about things like paid advertising, funnels, outbound, email opt-ins, cold outbound, all of those kinds of things, right? Versus branding is more of when you are getting a lot more inbound response in which you are building your online presence, creating content, creating public value, building a following, building word of mouth. All of that comes as a result of your reputation and your branding. And so where a lot of beginners and new business owners mess up is that they do not understand how to be able to balance where they fall on this continuum, right? And so a lot of people think, okay, you know what? Do I do branding or do I do direct response? It's not black or white. It's on what side of this, how much of each of these do you actually do? And unfortunately, a lot of beginners end up thinking, you know what? I got to get famous on an Oprah interview and I got to go ahead and get super, I got to have all this branding in place in order for me to be successful in business. Or sometimes they go all the way to the left side and like, you know what? I'm not going to have anything related to branding and I'm just going to go ahead and just become like this fly-by-night company and just reach out to people and that's going to be it. When in reality, the answer is you got to sit somewhere a little bit more balanced on this spectrum, okay? And so the thing is that in the beginning, you can actually get pretty far with a lot less branding than most people think. And so that's exactly why we call this term minimum viable branding, okay? Because in minimum viable branding, what you want to do is you want to have the bare minimum amount of exposure that is necessary to satisfy most people's opinion when it comes to branding. Okay, so what does that mean to satisfy most people's opinion when it comes to branding? What that means is that you do not want to be a fly-by-night company, because especially in today's world, people are going to go ahead and instantly, as soon as they hear about you, what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and Google your name. They're going to go ahead and look for reviews before they purchase, before anything like that, right? And so if you don't have anything on the internet at all, right? And it's very easy to be, we're going to talk about that, right? Minimum viable branding. It's very easy to go ahead and be able to get a social media presence very, very easily if you follow the steps that we walk you through. So that way you have a little bit more trust, you have a little bit more credibility. And fly by night means that those kinds of companies who are like, scammers, who are like, they don't really invest that much time in their presence or their credibility. And what they do is they just fly by night, they just take a bunch of people's monies and then they just go ahead and disappear, right? They take people's monies. That's what they do. They take the people's monies, okay? And so what you want to do is you want to be able to have enough of a public presence that shows that you are a legit business and that you have authority if and when somebody decides to look you up, right? But not at the same time spending so much time and attention and energy in which, as a beginner business, right, you don't have that much cash flow that you can just say, you know what, I'm going to spend 6 months, a year, 2 years going ahead and building this brand in which you don't have any cash flow coming in, right? Because you got to be able to focus on the sales, you got to focus on your product, you got to focus on your marketing, but specifically a lot more on your direct response marketing when you are getting started out. And so that is exactly why the recommendation that we have for those who are beginner and new business owners, right? And this is going to apply to 80% plus of those who are new business owners, is that when you are starting out, because you do not have the cash reserves, the patience, the time, nor the skill to be able to invest in branding for such a long period of time, our recommendation is to actually go ahead and focus a little bit more here on the direct response side of things. And we're going to walk you through, if you follow our steps in the rest of these training sections that we're going to talk about, walk you through what that minimum viable branding needs to be. And in fact, we actually have all of the templates, all of the swipe files, copy and paste already built out for you. So that way it's very, very easy and seamless for you to get your brand up and going. So that way you can go ahead and focus more on the direct response side of things. And again, we have more trainings coming in for you guys in regards to what direct response is going to be there as well. Okay, so that is going to be the overall concept of direct response versus branding, why the recommendation is going to be for new business owners to focus on more on the direct response side of things, but making sure that they get their branding in place. And so that minimum requirement that we do recommend is that you got to have a great website up as well as basic social media presence. Okay, that is what is going to be the general recommendation for 80% plus of new business owners. Okay, and then once you actually start getting into paid ads and those kinds of things, of course, we'll talk about what a sales funnel is, a marketing funnel, a sales funnel, and why that is also a minimum viable asset that is important once you start running paid ads. But at this point, you're probably not running paid ads yet. You probably don't know all the ins and outs of paid ads. And so right now, it is not a minimum viable asset. But once we actually get there and we get into the marketing course, we'll talk to you about how to be able to set that up as well. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do inside of the next and upcoming trainings is go ahead and walk you through step by step how to be able to go ahead and get that great website up. We're going to make it so easy for you. Do not worry. We have everything already pretty much 80-90% of it built out for you. You just slap on your logo, add some customizations, and it's going to be pretty easy, as well as your link tree, social media presence, and all of that. Okay, so that is what we're going to go ahead and walk you through in the upcoming training, so that way you are educated on how all of this actually works. And again, remember, we're doing this so that way there's a 3-step process here, right? You got to get attention, you got to help people decide that they got to work with you, and then you got to deliver the product, right? So it's marketing, sales, and product. And then within marketing, it's either direct response marketing or brand and content marketing. And we're going to be able to show you and walk you through each and every single one of those. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training section on the minimum viable branding. Let's go ahead and start getting into the tactical in the upcoming next training. Hey team, welcome to this overview training on creating your website. So in a previous training, we talked about minimum viable branding and how minimum viable branding is going to start off by having a great website. Now, when we say a great website, and this is why this mini training is here real quick before we actually get into the nitty gritty tactical step by step, is because what ends up happening for a lot of people who are new business owners and as they're getting started off in this game is that there's one thing that absolutely terrorizes and haunts them. And that is getting a website up, okay? Because I'm telling you, we have seen this over and over and over again after having thousands of students go through our programs, is that literally so many beginners overthink it and they overcomplicate it, right? They're like, okay, you know what? Should I use WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, right? What theme should I use? Should I have this slider? What type of design? What should it look like? How many photos should I have on it? Do I got to hire a professional photographer? Should I wear a dress or a suit inside of this picture to make it look more professional? Should I have my flowers on the left side or the right side of the picture? All of these kinds of things, right? What should I do with my hands in the picture? And they overcomplicate and overwhelm themselves, and they make it very, very complex for themselves, okay? So the biggest thing is that as we go through the step-by-step process, I don't want you to worry and I don't want you to freak out about all of these small details. That's why we're going ahead and putting this overview training here, is because what's going to happen is that we're going to walk you through the steps so that way you can see what they look like. And then really all you got to do is go ahead and start to make the changes that you think are going to be best for yourself and for your brand. Okay, so in the next couple trainings is going to be step-by-step instructions, okay? And we're going to go ahead and walk you through each of those step-by-step instructions. And what we've gone ahead and done is a part of the copy and paste asset asset library, if you remember the value stack when we were talking about the platform and the business platform, right? We've already gone ahead and we have literally dozens and dozens and dozens of templates that not only can you use because we've already done the work of hiring professional designers to do that for you, as well as we have one specific template that we've made that we think is going to be applicable for most of the community, 99% plus of the community. And so therefore, we're going to walk you through what that actually looks like. Now, if you were to go out and try and do this in, let's say, WordPress, or sign up for a website builder like Wix or Squarespace, or especially like WordPress is very, very complex and it would be very technical and complicated. And the other thing is that when you use platforms like Wix or Squarespace or any of these other website builders, they don't have as many robust features for businesses, and specifically the type of business that you are going to be running. Okay. And so that's the reason why we're going ahead and making the recommendations that we are, because altogether it is a system that works together, versus if you're trying to piecemeal everything from here and here and here and here, then at the same time, your system is not really going to come to place very, very well. Okay. So how to set up your website step by step in less than an hour, regardless of your tech ability. It doesn't matter if you're 16 years old or 90 years old or whatever your tech level is going to be. The upcoming steps are going to walk you through that and going to help you make sure that you stay out of your own way, so that way you can get your great website live and have a foundational piece of your brand assets rocking and rolling. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, again, this was just a very, very quick overview training to walk you through. Hey, don't freak out, but at the same time, spend some good time on it, right? Put some elbow grease in there, get a good website going, because that is going to be extremely, extremely important for you. And it's going to show big time on how your business is showing up publicly and professionally. Okay, so you got to have that balance bit, right? You got to have the balance between, hey, do I just don't spend any time on this, or do I spend way too much time on this, right? You want to be balanced and you want to be smack dab in the middle. And so that is the biggest reason why we want to go ahead and emphasize it. So with that being said, enough talking, enough overview. Let's go ahead and get into the step-by-step of the website and getting your great website set up. We will catch you in the next training. All right, team, let's go ahead and talk about one of the first steps when it comes to building your website. This is a tactical step, which is going to be all about picking your template. Okay, now it's going to be very important for you to understand is that you never want to build a funnel or a website from scratch. It's always exponentially easier when you start off with a template. Okay, so we're going to show you the template that we have specifically prepared for this community and what we think is going to serve most of the community members. But I'm also going to show you, if you decided that you wanted to start off with a different template, exactly what that is going to look like as well. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into that right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over to your ClientKit account. You're then going to go over to Sites on the left side, okay? And then, of course, ClientKit is a software company. They update their UI, as all software companies do every once in a while. But as of recording this, it's Sites, and then you're either going to go to Funnels or Websites, okay? So our recommendation is go over to Websites. And then let me actually show you how to get the template that we have built out for the community. And then I'll show you how to be able to get other templates in general, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and click on New Website here at the top, okay, right over there. So you can click on New Website. You're then going to go ahead and select From Templates, which is going to be the right one on the side right there, okay? You then click on Continue, and this is going to bring up all of the different templates that not only have we added into the system. So obviously with our partnership with ClientKit, we've been able to go ahead and hire designers and go ahead and have them put a bunch of templates into their system, as well as there's a whole bunch of other templates that ClientKit provides for all of their users in general as well, okay? However, I want to go ahead and put your attention right now to this specific template right over here, okay? So as of right now, it is called RWI Fit Pro Site. If that name ever ends up changing, we will go ahead and update the training notes below. However, if you cannot find it, you can also go ahead and search up, let's say RWI, right? That should show up right there. But what you're going to go ahead and do is you are going to go ahead and click on that. Okay, and so what you have to do here, and this is a little bit tricky because, I'll talk to the ClientKit team and I'll tell them to fix this. But the thing is that you got to click on the title here. And then once you click on the title, there's this little eye icon that's going to show up, okay? And so unfortunately, when you click it, it doesn't actually do anything, which is a little bit strange. So, hopefully they fix that. But basically what you're doing here is you're going to click on the title. And then once you click on the title, you're going to click on the eye icon. And when you click on the little eye icon, it's going to go ahead and open up what the previous preview of that template actually looks like. Okay, so again, this is something that we have designed in-house for you that is going to be serving most of your needs. Now, don't worry, you don't have to use this lady's picture in the background. You don't have to use this text. You don't have to use any of this. We're going to walk you through exactly how to customize this template, but this is going to get you 80 to 90% of the way there. Okay, so you're then going to go ahead and click on continue. And then what that's going to do is it's going to go ahead and actually add the template into your existing account. Okay, so it's literally as simple as that. Now, once you have that right over there, you're going to see that it's going to show up. Now, one of the first things that you're going to go ahead and do once you pick that template is I would recommend going over to settings. Okay, so once you click on the actual site, you're going to click on settings right there. And then you're going to go over to name. And I would recommend going ahead and naming this to your company name, right? So in the case of, let's say we're doing NutriFit Wellness was the name of our health and wellness practice, right? Our health coaching business. So NutriFit Wellness website, right? Or whatever it might be. In your case, whatever your business name is, whatever your brand name is, you can go ahead and put that name right there. Beautiful. So that is what that is going to look like in regards to this step, which is picking a template. Now, I do want to also go ahead and walk you through, and of course, once you change the name, make sure you hit save. So that's going to be very important there. But I do want to go ahead and walk you through also the difference between funnels and websites. So a website is very much like exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a web page with a bunch of other pages versus a funnel is normally used for marketing and sales in which the entire page usually only has like one button, right? So it's what you use in paid advertising and marketing in order to collect somebody's name and information, in order to sell them something, in order to market to them, right? Versus a website is usually used more for branding. However, there is a very big similarity. And so sometimes you might find a template here under a funnel template and you're like, you know what? I really dig this, right? And so this wellness spa one right here, I really dig this right here. And so you're like, you know what? Even though this is a funnel template, I want to use this as my website. And you'll see that the UI here looks a little bit different than it did for the website. But what you can also do is you can convert a funnel into a website, and you can just click on that and it'll actually go ahead and convert it and make it into a website. And so you can go back and forth between the two, but the biggest thing you want to know right now, and you see the wellness spa is right there, the biggest thing you want to know is that for the purposes of what we have designed for you, you want to stick with that RWI Fit Pro site because 80% of the work is already going to be done for you. But if you do also want to go ahead and use one of the other templates on here, right? So if you go ahead and go back, you go to new website, you'll see on the templates right over here, you can browse through these if you would like and see, how many different types of different websites and templates that you can do. You can look at health and wellness, and then from there, it'll show you a bunch of different sites that exist on the health and wellness side of things. But again, I'm telling you this for the 10th time, is that this one that we have designed for you, what we're going to walk you through is exactly the template that is built out in what we think is going to serve the community. And a lot of this, we've already gone ahead and given you licensing rights. So you will be able to go ahead and use, testimonials and those kinds of things, because if you're going to be following our system, which is what we're going to walk you through in the upcoming trainings, then you're going to be able to understand, okay, because I'm using a system, these are the testimonials that were created from that system. And so then just like a franchise, there is some legitimacy in using those testimonials. Okay. Now, obviously all this stuff in terms of the address, the contact information, the socials, all of that, we will walk you through in terms of how to edit that. But this is an extremely clean site that has been designed for you to be able to pick up and run with. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the first steps of designing your website, which is picking the template. And again, our recommendation is to go with the template that we have picked for you. And then we're now going to go ahead and get into actually understanding, hey, how does the actual customization of this look like, right? If I go ahead and edit this website, how do I actually know what all the pieces are going to be like? That's exactly what we're going to get to in the next trainings, is walking, hey, what is the editor? How does the editor work? And what are we going to go ahead and do in order to edit this website? With that being said, we will catch you in the next training. Hey team, welcome to this training where we are going to be talking about understanding the website and funnel editor. So this is going to be a little bit of a different training where, yes, we are talking about the step-by-step of getting your website, your great website set up. But in this training, we're going to kind of just talk about in general what the website and funnel editor is because you are going to be spending quite a bit of time building out landing pages, building out funnels, building out websites. And so it is going to be very important for you to be able to understand, hey, what is the ClientKit funnel and website editor? How does it actually work? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about inside of this specific training. Okay, so first and foremost, foremost, you always want to make sure that you are starting off with some sort of template, okay? And the reason we say that is because it's going to make it so much easier for you rather than building from scratch, right? So let me show you an example here. We are here under sites, and then obviously we have funnels and websites. We've talked about the difference between what a funnel is and what a website is in previous trainings. Biggest thing you got to know here is that websites have a lot more pages. Funnels, you can kind of build a website in a funnel, but funnels are usually made for marketing, paid ads and those kinds of things. But wherever you are, right, there are templates in here. So you go new website, you can start from blank, but that's very difficult, right? Instead, you just start off with the template. It's so much easier. And we've done a lot of the hard work in partnering with ClientKit to make sure that they have a lot of the assets that are going to be good for your specific industry. That's the reason why we went ahead and partnered up with them. And then funnels is the same thing right here, template versus starting from scratch, right? But hypothetically, let's say, for example, we are here inside of a test website, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through exactly what the funnel/website editor is, because they are exactly similar and they are actually the same, and it's just about dragging and dropping, okay? So this is what we're going to go ahead and talk about. You got all of your different pages here, and then you have the edit buttons right over here. Now, when you have the edit buttons, you can click edit and that'll go ahead and open it right up there. Or you can go ahead and click on this and open in a new tab, and that will actually go ahead and open that up in a new tab, where that sometimes makes it easier, right? So you have the tabs up here. If I drag that down, that does make it sometimes a little bit easier to be able to have a different tab on there. Okay, so for my purpose, I'm going to go ahead and edit any new tab. You'll see that that goes ahead and opens right there. And that is going to go ahead and take us directly into the website editor, okay? And so this is what the editor looks like. And I do have inside of the guide a bunch of different sections that I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. So biggest thing you want to know, you see how it says it goes orange, purple, right? You don't want to get overwhelmed with this. It is very, very easy and very straightforward. So that way, unlike, years ago where you had to go ahead and learn coding and you had to learn, all this sorts of stuff in order to build a website, now it's super, super easy as long as you can just learn how to be able to use this, okay? So we have our main bar right over here. And then I'll walk you through what each of these different settings are. And then I'll walk you through what these aspects up here are as well. Okay. So first and foremost, we have this plus button here on the left side. Now, this is where it has elements. Okay. Now, elements are different things that we can go ahead and add. So that way, you have a headline, you have a subheadline, you have a paragraph, you have bullet, all of these, forms, blog posts, image slider, videos, images. These are basically all of the different pieces, kind of like a Lego piece that we can build together and add and drag and drop, right? So let's say, for example, I want to have a survey right here. Boom, I could drop a survey right here. I could drop a whole bunch of different stuff. Now, the basic foundation of this, and let me actually start a new kind of section here, so that way I can walk you through this, okay? So let's say if I add a new section, and it starts off with the green section first, and here I can either have a full width section, so you'll see how a full width section means that it takes up the space of the entire page, okay? Or I could go ahead and let's say I put a green, I'm going to go ahead and have a wide section or a medium section, or let's say a small section, right? So you'll see how there is a difference between this section and that section right there, right? And so what it does is right here, it starts off with the sections, which are green. And the section is going to be the very first category, the very first part that you need to have, okay? So green is where it starts off, which is a section, and you can have a different, full width, wide, medium, small. We talked about that, okay? Now, within a section, okay, so this green part here, this is a section. Within a section, you are then actually going to have a row, okay? And so let's say right here, if I put my mouse over this, I then add a row, you'll see that within a row, I can have a 1 column, a 2 column, a 3 column, 4 column, 5 column, 6 column, right? So let's say, for example, let me show you an example on here, where if we're looking at this, right over here, this is a section that has 2 columns on it, right? Because you have the Q&A here on the left and the right side. Now, of course, it's just an example site, but I'm showing you here what we're talking about, right? So you can have on here options 1, 2, 6 columns. So let's say hypothetically, I'm going to go ahead and put a 2 column. Boom. So you'll see just like that, it's gone ahead now. And so inside of our green, right over here, right? So inside of our green, we now have this blue, and this blue is made up of a 2 column row, okay? From there, we then have our columns, which are purple, right? And so you'll see on here, if I put my mouse, it actually goes ahead and gives us that purple, and that purple is actually, first column, second column. You can see that right there at the bottom right, okay? And then within a column, we can now have different elements, okay? And elements are going to be orange. And so that is going to be where we can add in a text box, we can add in a form, a blog, media, something custom, countdown, all sorts of different elements are what we can actually go ahead and add inside of a column. So now if I go ahead and click on add an element, you'll see that it pops up that add an element kind of here on the left side that we were on earlier. And from here, I can go ahead and say, you know what, I want to add a headline. Okay, cool. Well, I got my headline there, right? So now I can go ahead and put, this is a test headline, right? And so if I go ahead and put my mouse over this and I double click this, you'll see it gives me a bunch of different options. I can bold this, I can italicize this, I can strike this through, I can underline it, I can hyperlink it. Hyperlink makes it a link, right? I can go and have all of these different options on here. And then here on the right side, you'll see that right over here, there is a little cog icon, right? You see that little cog? It looks like a setting cog. If I click on that, it actually shows up all of the different options, right? So I can put this to the left, text align, I can change the letter spacing, I can change the font size. If I want to make this really big, I can go ahead and make it really big if I want to, right? I can go ahead and change the color of this. I can mess around with the margin and the padding around this. So it really gives us so much flexibility and so many different options around what we want to do for this orange element. And remember, orange element is this elements, which are the individual pieces of this, right? Now I can do the exact same thing if I wanted to do this on the purple, right? So the purple also has a setting cog, and I just got to put my mouse right over there, and then I can show the purple. I get the setting cog, and you'll see here on the left side, now all of the settings panel here went ahead and changed, because now these are all going to be the settings for the actual column, right? So that is for the column. I can then repeat this, and I can do this for the row as well. So this is the blue section, right? And if I click on the setting cog, I can now see all of the different general and advanced settings that are actually for the row. And then I can also repeat this again for the actual section as well, right? So if I go ahead and click on that, I can click on that as well. Okay, the setting cog there. So that is going to be what we wanted to talk about here when we talk about the object categories, was understanding, hey, there's sections, sections then include rows, rows then include columns, and columns then include elements. Okay, very, very important. So that way you understand how kind of the anatomy of all of this comes together. Now, the other thing I want to go ahead and walk you through is that if we go ahead and click on this button here, which is the layers button, you see how before I had to actually put my mouse and find where the cog was? Well, sometimes that can get a little bit kind of difficult, right? Because you're having to put your mouse and it gets a little bit challenging to actually figure out like, hey, how do I place my mouse appropriately? So you can use layers, and layers are going to show you, hey, these are all of the different sections that you have, and it kind of shows you a high level overview of like, okay, hey, these are your sections, right? So right here, this is your section, you got your rows, then you got your elements underneath it, and so it'll walk you through this, and from here you can actually then edit and clone, and actually just a little bit of a different way to see all of the different layers that might be on your website or that might be on your funnel. Okay, so that's a different way that you can go ahead and do that there. Now, real quick, what I do want to go ahead and show you is I do want to show you some of the element specific settings that are available as well. Okay, so let's go down here to our test that we went ahead and made. Is that if I go ahead and click on this plus button here, that's the orange, I can go and add an element right underneath the element that we have, right? So we have headlines, paragraphs, bullet points, we have forms, so you can add a form on here as well. And so this is the reason why when we walk you through the business platform, it's so important to have this integration that is all together in one place. So that way, hey, if you go out and create a form in a different part of the business platform, then what you can do is you can go ahead and easily implement it right here without having to need any coding or anything like that. In the same way, you also have media, right? So if you want to go ahead and upload a video that you might have, an image that you want to do, an FAQ section as well. You also have custom right over here. So you can add surveys, calendars, you can add a countdown timer to a specific part of your website. You have all of these different features that are on here as well, okay? Now they do also have inside of ClientKit this AI here that allows you to be able to go ahead and generate text via AI, which is really, really cool. So that's another additional feature that could be possible as well. And then also I want to go ahead and show you the padding section of this, okay? Because padding is also very important, especially when we talk about optimizing the page. What padding does is padding actually goes ahead and puts the space around the entire object, right? So you can have padding that might be, you know, really far up. You can have a margin, you can have padding around this. So all of this is something that you can play around with depending on how you want to get the size of, you know, how things need to be positioned on the actual page. So that's very important there, okay? Now let's go back over here. So you got tracking code. This might be a little bit, you know, we'll talk about this if you ever need this. This will be for tracking purposes on your page. So that's here, which is the second or third button here. Well, I skipped this part actually. This was pages. So pages is going to be all of the different pages that, if you remember when we were here earlier, all of these different pages, if you actually wanted to jump between your pages without having to go back to the main site here, to the main website section, then you can actually switch between the pages that are within that website as well. Now, if we go ahead and close pages right here, you'll see the next one on here is custom CSS. CSS is just a fancy way to be able to say code that changes some of the way that things are going to look. Again, this is more advanced, not necessary for you to know specifically about right now, but if necessary, we can make a tech tutorial for that in the future. We then have typography. So typography is going to be, hey, this is going to be the overall default font and colors that you might be looking for, right? So link color, text color, all this kind of stuff. Again, we don't use this too much. We usually go ahead and just change things ourselves using the settings cog, so we can mess with the color options here on the right side. But again, this entire tech tutorial is just to give you an idea of, hey, this is what the editor looks like. So as we start to get into customizing the template that you have imported, you're familiar with how to actually do that. Okay, so that's typography. After that, we then have background. So this is going to be if you want to have the main background behind everything. So let's say, for example, I came here to background and I went ahead and changed this to black. You'll see that that does change it there. Now, the reason it didn't change it here is because this section probably has some sort of background by itself. So if I click on setting here, you'll see that it does have a background media asset here. That's the reason why this did not change to black, is because this section has a specific background. But if you want to change the main background for everything that doesn't have a custom background, then that's how you would go ahead and do that there, which was background. Okay. After that, we have pop-up settings. So a pop-up setting is going to be whenever you can have a button, and let's say the button you have on here is that the button action is that it's going to go ahead and open a pop-up. So that way, when that button is actually clicked, free personalized nutrition consultation in this example, then it's going to go ahead and open up the pop-up, and then this is what that pop-up is going to look like. So you might have seen this around the internet, and there are different pop-ups that you can kind of program there, and you can put different elements on this as well, right? So let's say, for example, in the pop-up, I wanted to have a countdown timer. I can go ahead and do that, and then I can click on the settings cog, and I can change the timings for the countdown timer if I wanted to. So biggest thing to understand is that every single one of these different sections have settings, and then all of the different elements further have settings. So let's say, you know what, this timer settings, all of that is going to be there as well. Okay, so we talked about the pop-up settings. After that, we have SEO metadata. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. You don't have to memorize that, you don't have to remember that, but what you want to know is that SEO metadata, search engines are like Google, Bing, all these different places that social media is often, a lot of times, are search engines as well. And so SEO metadata, we're going to have a step that's going to walk you through how to better optimize this, but this is what's going to allow you to be able to show up on Google rankings, on the first page, on Google Maps, right, on Google search. All of that is based off of your SEO metadata. So what title do you want to put for this specific page, the description, the keywords, the author, the social media image that's going to show up, right? All of that is going to be extremely helpful to be able to go ahead and rank on Google, especially if you're looking for keyword optimization and being able to show up and get a lot of leads through that way. Okay, so that's SEO metadata. After that, we then have preview custom codes, which again, this is going to be a little bit more advanced. It's just a matter of if you have any custom codes. Again, you don't have to worry about that. After that, from here, we then have showing up different options of 2-column mode, right? So if we show you here, if I go to auto, this is actually going to go ahead and make this into either a persistent, right? So if I click on things, it'll actually go ahead and make it like that, or it's going to go ahead and make it separate on here, right? So again, that's just a view if you want to actually look at the editor in a specific way, okay? Right here, this is actually, again, it'll just go ahead, if you click on this, it'll take you over to pages again. So all you do is you click on this, you can switch between the different pages of the website. Over here, and this is a very important feature because we're going to walk you through how to optimize your website for mobile versus desktop. And this is very important because you can actually look at, hey, how is my website going to show up on mobile? And this is extremely important, especially now that a lot more traffic is coming on mobile. You want to make sure that you're optimizing your website for mobile versus desktop. Okay, so we'll walk you through more of those features in upcoming trainings, but I just want to walk you through, hey, that is exactly where that feature is, to see, hey, how is my website going to look on mobile versus how is it going to look on a desktop computer? Okay, from there, we go ahead and talk about here, this is version. So this is going to be, I don't want to click this right now because right now it says that I haven't saved. Actually, let's go ahead and save real quick. So on here, it says that I got to update my SEO metadata. So I saved, right? Now, if I go ahead and click on versions on there, you'll see that it goes ahead and takes me over to a separate section where it says, hey, you know what? These are the changes that you've gone ahead and made inside of your website. And so you see this was the original one. And then if I go then over to the current version, it shows me that I have that test that we went ahead and made that was down here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click on back. I just want to show you that if you do end up making a mistake, for the most part, it should be saved over to versions, okay? Now over here, just so we can see our test, let me go ahead and change our background color back to what it actually was, which was background right here. So we're gonna change this back to being white so we can see our test boxes over here. And then what you'll see on here is that if I go ahead and make any change, right? What you'll notice is that over here where it says undo versus redo, Now, this only applies to really big changes, right? So let's say, for example, right there, I made a big change, I added an element, versus sometimes if I just make a change like that, it won't always show up. But the big thing is you want to know is that you can actually undo and redo here, but at the same time, it only accounts for big changes. Okay, so don't think that you're gonna, make a undo smaller mistakes there. But I just want to show you that that is how you undo and redo there. And then over here, this is if you wanted to hide or show the settings for each of the different elements that we're talking about. Or you can also go ahead and click on that X right there. It does the exact same thing. Okay. Now, a couple buttons over here that are very important is that you want to make sure that you are saving regularly. This is very important. Okay, because you don't want to make a bunch of changes. You're working on this for like 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And then you make a change and then all of a sudden it's gone. No, you want to make sure that you are saving pretty regularly. Now, every time you save, if you don't have any SEO metadata, it is going to ask you to fill that out because it's thinking that you're going to go ahead and publish this next. But if you're still working on it and you haven't yet gotten to the SEO metadata training, then you can just go ahead and ignore this. You can click on update SEO metadata and then it will go ahead and actually save right there. Biggest thing is that you do want to make sure that little orange button that was there, make sure that after you save that does disappear. From here, this button right here that looks like an eye, this is actually if you wanted to preview what the page was actually going to look like, okay? So this is what the preview of the page would look like. So that's what, if you were to go ahead and do it like that, that'll show you the preview. And then publish, this is what's actually going to go ahead and push your website live, okay? And so this is where if you're going ahead, other than save, so save doesn't push it live, save just goes ahead and saves the version of it, so that way you can go ahead and access it if necessary, and then publish actually pushes that live to your actual website and to your domain. Okay, so we've gone ahead and talked about padding, we've talked about the back button, we've talked about desktop versus mobile, we've talked about a bunch of the different settings here in regards to all of these over here, we've talked about undo and redo, we've talked about the pop-up, right? We did also go ahead and talk about the objects and being able to manage all the different objects, the versions as well as the preview, as well as making sure that you save also. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to walk you through when you're here on the website. It also shows you stats, and so this is, hey, how many people landed on different parts of your website, so you can actually track conversions and data around that. Okay, and you can change the date around that here as well. So that's here on the main site. This applies also for funnels. From there, if you had any sales products that you were going to go ahead and design, that would be there. Again, not necessary right now. I'm just walking you through this. If we go ahead and have you do that for the specific business model we recommend, we will walk you through that when we get there. And then settings here, this is specifically going to be where if you are going to put this website on a domain, which we'll walk you through again on an upcoming training, then that is going to be where the domain is going to be. Favicon. So favicon is going to basically be where the actual kind of little image that shows up. So favicon is this little image that shows up right over here inside of the browser. If you're going to change that, again, it's such a small thing, it's not that big of a deal, but I just want to show you that that is actually where it would be. And then obviously you see on here that there's a whole bunch of different, right? So this is the name of it, this is the path, this is the head tracking code, body tracking code. You don't got to worry about this for now. Image optimization, payment type, all these different smaller settings. You don't really have to worry about them right now. But one thing that I do want to show you here is that convert to funnel. This is why I said that the line between what a funnel is and what a website is a very fine line, because you can actually use a funnel as a website and you can actually use a website as a funnel. Okay, so there is a little bit of difference, but you can actually convert the two between each other as well. Okay, and that's under settings, but typically we try to make it, if it's a website, we kind of leave it as a website. If it is a funnel, we leave it as a funnel. Okay, and then you can see all of these are the different pages there. And then this button right here, this is actually the preview link. So if I click on that, it'll actually open up the page and preview what that specific page would look like. And then obviously I can go ahead and add a new page right over here. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the tech tutorial on the actual website and page and funnel builder. So that way you get a little bit of an idea of like, hey, initially, yes, this might look overwhelming, but you just look at it like, hey, you know what? Look at this. I just got my green sections, I got my blue sections, I got my purple sections, I got my orange elements. And then all you're doing is you're just kind of building out the different elements, messing around with the padding, messing around with the background. And again, you're starting off with a template, and we're already going to make sure that you have 80%, 90% of that work already done for you. But it is also very important for you to be educated, so that way you can understand the foundations of this, and that way you are equipped and empowered, so that way you are not stuck to somebody's hip for the rest of your life, because that way you are a business owner who can make sure that you are rocking and rolling the way that you need to be. Now, the last thing I do want to go ahead and mention on here is that, is this everything that we just talked about, everything that you need to learn about the website and funnel builder? The answer is nope. Right? There's a bunch of small things here and there that you're going to learn as you actually get into the trenches, okay? But the thing is that you want to understand is that you can literally build anything with a builder like this. Okay, that's what's most important to understand, is that if after asking ClientKit support, right? So ClientKit support, they went ahead and they have ClientKit support on here. You can go ahead and they have guides on this. If you want to go ahead and type in here builder, right? They do have support around this, but obviously you can reach out via the community to be able to see if the community can help you with things if you're really struggling. But they also do, of course, have on here, right? They have the customer support, being able to talk to an agent. They have all of that support available for you. So make sure you are reaching out to them if you need additional support. And then you can also reach out to the community if it's something that is specific to anything that is an asset that we are providing, right? Those assets are going to be custom to our community. And so that way you can reach out if necessary, but they know their features very well as well. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been understanding the website and funnel editor. You now have the foundations to be able to move on to customizing the template, the website, the funnel that you need for yourself. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you in the next training. All right, team, let's go ahead and talk about this training, which is going to be about customizing the template. So up until this point, you should have gone ahead and actually imported the template, and specifically the template that we have designed for the community that we think is going to be the most applicable for 80 to 90% of you out there. And then you should also have a good idea of, okay, hey, you know what? A rough idea of how the funnel builder and the website builder actually works. And now we're going to actually go ahead and get into customizing the template. Okay. So if you remember in a previous training, we did talk about renaming that template. So that way it is more aligned with what your brand name is. Again, it's not public facing, but for yourself, it's going to be easier for you to identify in all of your websites. So we are here under sites, websites. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and click into it. And what you're going to see on here is that this website that we've gone ahead and prepared for you is made up of 2 pages. Okay. So the first page is the main page, and we've gone ahead and created it so that way it's a 1-pager, very, very simple, very easy to go ahead and get started with. But that way you can go ahead and have a very professional brand presence online, which is extremely important. Okay. And so that's going to be number 1. And then number 2, this is going to be the link tree that you're going to be able to then link on all of your different social media platforms. And we're going to go ahead and walk you through all of that. Again, all of this is so absolutely critical when you're getting started in your business. So that way you have a very elegant, very great brand presence, because especially in today's world, the very first thing that a customer who's going to be dealing with you is going to look at is, hey, what's their brand presence? And that's exactly what we're going ahead and helping you set up now. Okay. So inside of this training, let's talk about customizing the template. Once you're actually in the website, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're all going to go ahead and click on edit. Now it's up to you if you want to click on edit, and that'll go ahead and change the main page right there. Or if you want to go ahead and click on edit in a new tab, that is completely up to you. Okay. So in this case, once we open up the editor, now this should look familiar because it's the exact same editor that we've talked about in the previous tech tutorial. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through all of the important pieces that you need to actually go in and change. Okay. So the very first thing is that in the actual navigation menu, which is right over here, which is this top one right here, what you need to do is you need to actually go in and change your logo. Okay. Now how you're going to go ahead and do this, I'm going to expand this a little bit so you can see a little bit more here, okay, is that we have this element. Now this element right here is an image element, okay, and if you remember from the tech tutorial, we talked about all of the different elements that there are. This image element is actually located right over here, which is the actual logo for the actual company, right, for your actual business. And so what you got to do is you click on that, and then you got to come over here to image options, and you got to go ahead and click right over here, which is this image button, okay, and then what you're going to do is, because obviously your brand name is probably not BodyForge, and so you got to go ahead and change this, right? So you're going to click on this image button, and then when you click on this image button, it's going to say upload from media library or create image using AI. Now, it's up to you if you want to do this, however, if you want to use AI, but that's the reason why we walked you through creating your logo previously, so that way you could actually have it prepared, right? So there is a method to this madness in how we're building each of the layers of your infrastructure. So you go over to upload from media library, and then what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to go ahead and upload the actual logo. Now, if you haven't actually downloaded your logo from Canva, you are going to want to make sure that you do that as well, right? So let's say, for example, you have your Canva file, right? Whatever your logo might actually be. So you have your logo, okay? And then what you're going to go ahead and do here is, let's say, for example, the logo is, I don't know, let's just say it's going to be this one right here, right? Or we need a 1 line. So right here, what you do is you go over to share, You then go over to download, and then you go ahead and download it. PNG is perfectly fine, but you probably want it to be, let's say, a transparent background because of the fact that you want it to match really well in the background. And then all you do is you select pages, and then you just make sure that you're selecting the current page, which is page number 9, right? So page number 9 right here, you want to make sure that that is the one that is selected over here. So you go over here, page number 9, okay, done. And then you go ahead and click download, okay? Once you have that downloaded, you save that to maybe your desktop, to your downloads folder, something like that. You then go ahead and upload that over here, and it is going to show up as a logo file right over here. Once you have that, you'll then be able to just go ahead and click on it. So let's say, for example, we go over here to upload file, we go over here to BodyForge logo, and then you'll see it shows up right there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and double click on it, and you'll see that in this case, it actually doesn't show up. Now, why doesn't it show up? The reason it's not showing up is because my logo is actually black and it's on a black background. And so I might have to come back over here to Canva. I might even duplicate this, right? I might make this a black background. I might go ahead and select all over here, and then I'll go over here and make it white, right? And then I go back over here to share. I then go over to download. I then go back over here and select the page, which is page number 10 now. I then go ahead and download it one more time. It's going to download from here. And then once it downloads, I'm then going to come back over here, and I'm going to go back to the images. And no, I don't want to use AI because I've already gone ahead and created mine. I'm going to upload. And when I upload, I'm going to go ahead and put that there just like that. And it doesn't show up weird. It shows up weird, right? Why does it show up weird? Okay, well, we got to go ahead and mess around with this now. Okay, so we say, okay, this is going to be, let's say the height is probably messed up on there. And what we got to do is we probably got to mess around with the height. Now, the other thing is that it looks like maybe it's a little bit too wide, right? So we actually have to go in and edit it. So you see, all of these are kind of small issues that will show up. And I'm happy that this is happening live so you can see what this looks like. And so that's the reason why I might end up having to go into the actual file, right? So I go over to downloads. Once I go over to downloads, I might have to then crop this. So in this case, I got to crop this. And so again, these are all like the small things that can kind of make a difference. Then see, I go ahead and crop it. I then go ahead and hit save. Now, again, if you don't know how to do some of these tech tutorials, you can try to Google it. You can try to YouTube it. You can reach out to the community because there's plenty of people who have done this for sure. And this is a skill that you will be able to actually learn as you're going through this entire process, right? And so when I go to upload, unfortunately, it looks like, there we go, upload, there we go. And then I go ahead and double click on it. Boom, just like that. So it's a little bit smaller now, right? So now I can go in and I can adjust the width and the height of the logo and make it look a little bit more sneezy, all snazzy, okay? So it looks all very good over there. So beautiful. That would be the logo, and that would be the very first thing that we're gonna go ahead and have to edit, which is gonna be the logo image in the actual navigation menu. Beautiful. Now, after that, we are then going to have to go into the next section here and update the actual name of the company, right? So we're gonna, in this case, let's say this is called Elite Wellness Coaching. Okay, so Elite Wellness Coaching. If you want to do come train with us, that's fine. You can leave it there. Again, we've tried to make this as what they call white label or gray label as possible. So that way, as much as possible, it's already there for you, right? So if you want to do best personal training and nutrition coaching in, and then if you wanted to go ahead and change this in, let's say, for example, Dallas, Plano, and Frisco, right? That's where I'm located. So that's what I'm going to put there, right? So we got that right there. And then section number 2, we have get started. We can leave that there. Over here, for people who want to get results, it's up to you if you want to come in and actually change that. Results in less time, weekly check-ins, always with you, real coaching. Again, you're more than welcome to leave that there because we've made this as a system according to the fulfillment, the product that you're going to be delivering, which we're going to be walking you through in an upcoming training. Okay, so that's something that if you wanted to go ahead and change, you could. If you wanted to change some of these icons, you could do that as well. So let me walk you through that, right? So here's an icon. If I click on that icon, I can then go ahead and come down here and it shows me, hey, here's icons right there. Right? And so now I can come in and say, you know what? I want this icon to be different. I want it to look like the YouTube logo, right? So again, you could change it, but I would recommend, I like the one that we've already created for you. So I'm going to leave that one on there for now. Next up after that, right? So we go to the next section. So you see how each of this is a section that we've gone ahead and kind of designed for you, right? So you got the first section, which is the navigation. We then have the second section, which is this part right over here. Now, I'm going to also show you in just a second how to actually change the picture here in the background, right? So this picture right over here, it says background image with this lady that's working out over there. Let me actually show you how to change this right now as well, right? So we're going to go ahead and click on this. And then what we do is we then go ahead And this is the really cool part, okay? This is really where all of these tutorials are like, they are worth their weight in gold. Because what you do then is you go over here to search and use, let's say you say, working out, okay? And you're gonna do working out search, but you're gonna click on, instead of My Media right over here, the really cool thing about ClientKit is they have a partnership with all of the biggest free image resource kind of libraries, right? So you can go over here and you can click on Unsplash. And Unsplash is going to go ahead and show you all of these images are free for you to actually use inside of your website. How cool is that, right? So you can look at Unsplash, you can look at Pixabay, that's another one on there. So if you want to use some of these images, you could do that as well. If you want to go ahead and type in gym, let's say hypothetically, you're like, you know what? I like this picture, right? So what you do is you then double click on it and you'll see just like that, it's now changed the picture in the background. How cool is that, right? So that is another thing that you can go ahead and change. You can change the lady in the background there. So that way you are able to go ahead and move that. So that is section number 2. Section number 3, we've talked about as well for people who want to get results, the icons, the different offerings there. You can then go into our programs. And in this section, you can actually go ahead and change this up. So let's say, for example, you're like, you know what? I do not offer movement therapy, okay? So what you can do is you can actually just come in here and you see the purple on there. The purple, you can then just go ahead and actually delete that. Boom. And it's just going to go ahead and delete the entire column, right? If you wanted to bring it back, you could go ahead and do that as well. So that way movement therapy would be back on there. And so again, you can change the verbiage on this. So if you wanted to double click into this and change the verbiage, but we've gone ahead and done our best to make this 80 to 90% of the way where you would want it to be, right? So one-on-one training, you can change the icons if you really wanted to. Hybrid coaching, if you wanted to change that, you can change the button name on here if you wanted to change that as well. In this case, let's just say hypothetically, I do not offer movement therapy. So I'm just going to take that out hypothetically, right? Just giving you an example. Then we get into the next section, right? So best coaches to help you reach your goals, meet your coach. And then what you can do is you can put a really nice image of yourself right here, right? Doesn't matter where you get it from, but it's going to be a very similar concept where what you're going to do is you're going to go over here, click on the element. You're then going to go over here on the right side and you're going to go ahead and under image options, hit this little image icon. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hit upload from media library. And then here's your media library. And then what you do is you just upload a picture of yourself that is going to allow you to then go ahead and have that right there, which is a picture of yourself, okay? From there, you can go ahead and write a little bit of a kind of bio about yourself if you'd really like to. So, Coach Morrison, health and wellness played a very, very big role in Coach Morrison's life after a knee injury. Now Morrison is obsessed with helping other people. And it's up to you if you want to write this in the first person. We think that it's more of an organization brand if you write it in the third person. So it's like somebody else is giving you credibility, but again, completely up to you. Certification wise, if you want to add some of your certifications on there, if you don't even want this entire element, you could just go ahead and delete that right there. Boom. Very, very easy. And so you see, we're just going section by section. I'm walking you through step by step. And again, 80 to 90% of the work is already done for you, but I just want to go ahead and walk you through some of that. So that way your understanding of how all of this works. Next up, let's go into the next section over here, which is going to now be the testimonials. And so here we have over here a slider. Okay. So we have testimonials, what people are saying. Now, again, you're more than welcome. We've gone ahead and given you licensing rights to be able to use these testimonials if you would like. However, we would also recommend if you're at the point in your career which you have other testimonials, we would recommend also using your own testimonials. Okay. And so what you can do is you can just click on the element there. And then once you click on the element, and if the element doesn't open up, you can just go ahead and put your mouse over it and hit that little cog icon. It's going to open up the image slider. And then you can go ahead and add different slides with all of the different images that you want to have on there, right? So you have image slider, you have a different image that you want to add. So let's say add a slide on there. And then you're here on slide number 5. And then once you're on slide number 5, you then have to go in and actually add an image. So you click on the image icon. It's going to take you over to your media library. In this case, obviously this is not a testimonial, but I'm going to go ahead and click on it, double click on it. And then it's going to go ahead and add that image right over there, right? And then of course, if you wanted to go ahead and add, like let's say somebody clicks on the image, you can actually go ahead and add a hyperlink. A hyperlink is basically a button kind of thing where they press it and then opens a link. You can go ahead and do that over there as well. So that's the testimonial side. If you want to go ahead and change the testimonials, you want to drag the order of them, you want to add your own, all of that is something that you can go ahead and do as well. So change the reviews to reviews that you've received from your clients. You can go ahead and do that there as well. Okay. From there, next up, so that is the image testimonials. We then after that have the written testimonials. Okay, so we got one from Becky, Kayla here, Becky. So these are actually just fillers. Okay, so you can use Becky and Kayla. However, what we would recommend, especially if you're inside of the program thus far, you probably are having some clients at least, right? If you don't have any clients, then maybe you can delete this entire section if you want, right? So what you could do is you could just literally come in here and go to the blue, right? So the blue is the actual section. We've talked about this before, and you can actually just boom, delete, and you could actually delete. Now, if you want to delete the entire testimonial thing, you could do that as well. So if you go over to the green section and then you hit delete, that'll just remove the entire testimonial section altogether. So that is, again, another option for you if you would like. However, in this case, I will just go ahead and leave, let's say, 2 of them, which is going to be Becky and Kayla's. Beautiful. So that is the testimonial section. We talked about the image slider, right? So if I click on it and here's another very important thing. Save all the time, right? Save all the time. And then over here, you see we've already gone ahead and filled in your SEO metadata for you. However, we will talk about what your SEO metadata is in an upcoming training. But for now, you can just click update SEO metadata. Make sure that you are constantly saving. Very, very, very important until that orange dot disappears. And then if you want, as you're making changes, you can go ahead and click on that eye icon right over there. And that's actually going to show you what your website is going to look like. Now, this is not your published website final, because what you are going to notice is that it is going to be on the Client Kit domain. And so we are going to have to walk you through in a little bit in upcoming training is how to put this on your own domain, but it's going to show you a preview of what it is going to look like once it gets to that point. Okay. So we'll talk about that, that little pop-up that you just saw. I'll talk to you about in just a second how to edit that, but here's what that would look like, right? So you got your image slider. There's that image that we just went ahead and put there. And then there we got Becky and Kayla and all the changes that we made there thus far. Okay. Next up, we got our schedule. So this is if you are doing semi-private training and if you are doing in-person sessions, which is, in our opinion, the recommended way for somebody to go if they are starting off in this industry. So here, what you can do is you can actually go ahead and update your schedule, right? So what it looks like on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, on Saturday, Sundays. Let's say you only have 2 days, you can go ahead and delete a column on there, so it'll open up 2 columns, right? If, let's say, for example, you wanted to actually go ahead and add a column on here. Let's say, for example, you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you got, let's just say Monday, Wednesday, then you got a Friday, then you got a Saturday and a Sunday. What you could do is you just come over here to the purple, and then you hit this little kind of looks like 2 screens on there. You hit that, and that's the clone button. And the clone button will go ahead and actually add another column on there, okay? So that's what that's going to look like there. Now, if it looks a little bit wonky on here, what you could also do is you could actually just go ahead and add another section and say, you know what, I want this to be 4 columns. And so you could do it that way, right? Now, of course, these buttons ended up kind of getting a little bit janky, right? So you might have to come in here and just update the font size of these buttons. And you could just say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make these, let's say 12 font. Yep. Let's say 15 font. Does that work? No, 15 made it go to the next line. So I might make it 14, right? So you kind of mess around with this and then make it look like the way that you want it. So that was what, 14 on all of them? No, that was what? That was a 12, right? So I could just go over here. I could do 12. I could do 12, and then I could do 12, just like that. And just like that, right? So again, I'm just showing you as things kind of get messed up, you just fix them. It's not a big issue. On this one, it didn't save for just a second there. And then, well, actually, why didn't it actually go down? So on this case, I might have to do, let me see, 11. Did 11 work? Okay, so in this case, it looks like why this one is a little bit smaller might be because you have to drag. So you see how the different column sizes on here? You can actually drag these little purple kind of buttons. You can kind of drag them left and right to see what the kind of sizing might look like. Again, I'm just showing you different examples of how to actually build this out if you wanted to do so, right? Here we go. Best personal training in McKinney, Allen, Plano, Frisco, right? So if you want to go ahead and change your city location right there, you can. Where to find us? This is going to be where you can go ahead and edit your address. So again, obviously that's not going to be your address. You can go ahead and change that right there. Chat with us. So this is going to be something that is a chat widget, which is going to actually be the upcoming training. We're going to talk to you about how to include a chat widget. So that way you can collect leads that way as well. And then we also have a form, which is going to be another training where we'll walk you through how to actually add a form to your website as well. So make sure you check out that training that is going to be upcoming very shortly. Next up we have on here, this is going to be the map. So what you can do on here is you just go ahead and click on the map, or you can click on the little cog icon for the orange one there. And then what you do is you have a road map. And then what you're actually going to do here is you're going to click on open search box, okay? And then it's going to allow you to type in your address right there, and it's going to actually show that specific address on the actual map. How cool is that, right? So it's not only a nice visual, but it also gives, especially in a local area, it gives people an idea of, hey, okay, this person is located, next to that park that's very famous in our area, or, the Simi Dog Park, or whatever it might be, depending on where you are located, okay? Next up from there, we then have these social media icons down over here. So let's say, for example, you don't have a a TikTok, you do not have a YouTube, you can go ahead and delete that. Not a big issue there. But then let's say you have an Instagram. You click on the little pencil icon there. You then go ahead and put in your Instagram link URL right there. Same thing here for Facebook. You go ahead and hit the little pencil icon and then put in your Facebook URL there as well. Now over here, you do see that there is a display type where you can actually display the icon in text or just the icons, completely up to you. Especially nowadays, these logos and these brands are so popular that people kind of get an idea of, hey, that is Facebook and that is Instagram. But again, totally up to you if you want to go ahead and change that. Okay, next up, that's where to find us. Let's go to the next part here. Ready to finally get results? You can change this right here. We have gone ahead and put together for you, a little bit of a rundown there if you want to go ahead and leave that there. These images, you're more than welcome to go ahead and use them if you would like, or if you want to go ahead and change them, that's completely up to you as well. If you're like, you know what, I don't like this lady, I don't want her there. Boom, you just delete it, right? Simple as that. If you want to change these images, you just click on them. You just go over here to the little image icon, or if you can't click on them, you go ahead and click on this little cog icon. You then go ahead and click on images, and then you go ahead and upload from media library. Now, in addition to that, I did not mention it yet, but if you wanted to also change the color of these buttons, you can also do that. So you see all of these yellow buttons, right, that you've seen thus far. You can just click on it, or click on the little orange cog when you get next to the actual button. And then you can actually go in and change it to, let's say, green, right? So you want them to be green, or let's say you want your brand to be blue. Now, if you do make it blue, obviously you then might have to change up the actual color of the text, right? So you come down over here. So you change the color background right there. And then you go over here to the color and you change this to white. And it does that right there, right? So just as easy as that, you then go through and you just change all of the different colors. And you say, you know what, I want all the buttons to be blue instead. So again, this is a one-time project. I know it sounds like, oh, there's a lot of small things, but trust me, you sit down, give it like an hour or two, and you'll be able to knock all of this out, especially since we've already gone ahead and done 80 to 90% of the work for you already. Again, I'm going to show you one last time. If you want to change the color to maybe your brand colors, you could just go ahead and go click boom right there. And then you go down over here to color options. This is going to be the text color. You change that to white, and then boom shakalaka, you are rocking and rolling there, right? Last up, we got over here FAQ, and then actually second to last, right? Then I'll show you the footer over here. The FAQ section on here, right? Still have questions. Is the game plan session free? So the game plan session is what we call, it's basically a sales call, but not really a sales call, because a sales call is like, hey, I'm going to sell you regardless of who you are. But a game plan session is like, hey, let's get together. Let's make a game plan and see, hey, this is what the game plan is going to look like if we were going to help you, and see if you'd be a good fit. And if you want to join, awesome. If you don't want to join, no problem. You got something out of that game plan session, right? So that is what that looks like. Now we've gone ahead and put a bunch of FAQs together, right? It's a game plan session in person, over the phone. How do I get started? How do I join? Do you provide guidance on nutrition and recovery? Do I need to be fit to start? What makes Body Forge training different than other PTs near me? So that might be something you want to change, right? So let's say, for example, you're like, you know what? I want to change that right there. All you do is you just click on it. What makes NutriFit Wellness different from other PTs, right? Or other, let's say not PTs. I want to do this to other health coaches near me. So again, you can just go ahead and change that right over there. Now, if you do want to go ahead and organize and change the list, so you see you can drag here on the right side, you can change that. And then let's say, for example, you're like, you know what, I want to edit the actual text inside of it. All you do is you just click on the item here on the right side. Let me go ahead and put this right here, right? So right here, you just click on the item. So let's say list item number 5, and it's going to open that up right here on the left side. And then all you do is you just go in there and just type in whatever you want that text to be. Now, let's say I wanted to change list item number 4. I click on list item number 4, and then I just go ahead and actually change whatever that is in there. Okay. And then over here, you'll see it does have the little plus icon there. If you wanted to add another item at the bottom, if you wanted to delete an item, you can do that. If you wanted to clone one of the items and then start off with that and then change it from there, you see, do I need to be fit to start? Do I need to be fit to start, right? So all of these are things that you can change. And then you also have a couple of different options for the FAQ type, right? So if you wanted to make it contained, so you have that as a display. You have a simple one, right? So it kind of looks like a drop down there, or you have a separated one. So again, these are all things that are the aesthetic that is up to you if you want to mess with, but we've gone ahead and done the work to get you 80% of the way there. Now, if you're like, you know what, I don't want an FAQ section at all. Well, guess what? You just come over here to the green and you can delete that if you actually wanted to, okay? And then here's that button again where you can actually go in and change the color. Now, towards the end, I'm going to walk you through, because this is going to be very important. You are going to need to look at the pop-up, and I'm going to make sure that I talk about the pop-up in just a second, and how all of the buttons on the entire site actually line up to the pop-up, and I'll show you what the pop-up is, okay? So real quick, let's go over to the bottom here, and you'll see that we actually have the footer. Now, For the footer, what you're going to do is you have over here, this is going to be your logo. Same thing that we did in the header, because this is what is known as a header, right? The very top part, this is the navigation or the header, okay? And then the footer is the thing that is all the way at the bottom of the actual website. So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to go ahead and click right over here, and then you're going to go ahead and go back over to your media library, and I'm going to go ahead and select that, double click on it, and boom, just like that, I've gone ahead and put over my own logo there, right? Now over here, let's say for example, I'm like, you know what, my entire branding is not yellow, I want it to be blue. And so in this case, what you would do is all you would come over here is you would come over here to icon color, you can change that to blue. And then italic text color, you can change that to blue as well. Boom, just like that, right? Or in this case, you know what? I want it to be white. That's what I want it to be. So I can go ahead and do that. Come over here and I go to icon color and make that white, and then hit the color again in order for that to disappear right there, right? So again, I'm just walking you through different examples of how to actually customize this, right? And then same thing that we did earlier, if you wanted to go ahead and delete TikTok, and you want to also go ahead and delete YouTube, you could do that if you wanted to. And then you got Facebook and Instagram there. Now we would recommend going ahead and leaving this kind of client kit image on here, because what that's going to do is going to allow you to, if anybody does sign up for client kit using your website, you are going to be able to go ahead and collect affiliate commissions, right? So that way you are able to actually have a partnership yourself with client kit as well, which is really awesome. So that way, if anybody signs up, I think the partnership with them is 40% recurring that you get if anybody signs up client kit using your partnership agreement, right? So if you're interested in that, I'm sure we're going to go ahead and create some trainings, let the community know, so that way we can create further trainings on how you can create mailbox money using the client kit platform, and you want to refer it out to people who might be in the same industry as us or somebody else that you think might be able to benefit from it, right? So there we go. That is the footer of it. Now, before we close out here, let's go ahead and talk about the actual pop-up, okay? Because what's happening here is that all of these buttons, you'll see if I go ahead and click on these buttons, right? So I clicked on this button and then I scrolled all the way to the bottom, you'll see link to, and it says link to pop-up, right? If I click on this button, link to pop-up. If I click on this button, link to pop-up. If I click on, this is a form, so that's a totally different training we'll get to in a little bit. But over here, you'll see opens and pop-up, opens and pop-up, opens and pop-up. So where is this dang pop-up that we see everywhere, right? So what we do is we go over here to the top, and right over here, this is actually going to be the pop-up button, okay? So if I click on the pop-up button, this is what that opens up. This is the pop-up. Now the pop-up is basically, it has a form in which they're immediately asked for their name, email address, and their phone number. Now, this is how you collect leads. Ladies and gentlemen, especially if you are a new business owner, welcome to the world of being a professional business owner. You collect leads on every chance that you get. And in this case, this is if somebody wanted to schedule a free game plan session. Now, we're going to go ahead and create other trainings on how all of this works and how all of this connects and how to create your forms and put all that together. But for right now, you want to understand that having these different assets, or what they call lead magnets, allows you to be able to collect somebody's name, email address, and phone number, which then allows you to have a lead. And then what you do is mathematically, scientifically, data-wise, right? Now, again, don't get overwhelmed by that. We'll walk you through all of it. But the point is that you collect leads and then you look at the conversion rate in order to get clients. And so if you don't have any clients right now, well, you got to go upstream and ask yourself, hey, how many leads do I have? Well, I don't have any leads. Okay, well, how many visitors to your site do you have? I don't have any visitors to my site. Well, how much outreach are you doing? How much inbound are you getting? All of these are things that you're going to learn. But the point is that you want to understand that it starts with your website. It starts with making sure that you have everything optimized on your website, so you're actually collecting that information when somebody actually lands on your website. And so what you want to do over here is you want to go ahead and change the logo, just like we've been doing so far on the header and the footer. So you go ahead and click on that right there. You then go over here to upload from media library. I double click on the logo, schedule your free game plan session. Now, this right here, this is actually a form. Okay, so you'll see on here, element name, this is a form, and it's taking us to the main website contact form. Now, it's going to be a separate training in which we're going to walk you through how to actually change this form, how this form works, how you can create your own forms, all of that. But for right now, I just want you to know we're going to return back to this, so that way you can actually change and adjust your pop-up so everything shows up on there. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to close the pop-up, and I just wanted to show you that all of these buttons are linking to the actual pop-up. Now, if you wanted to change the text that's inside of the buttons, you can do that over here as well. So you just click on the button, text options, get started, book my free session as well. Okay, so we've now gone ahead and gone section by section by section, and I've walked you through exactly what it looks like in order to make these changes. And in addition to that, inside of the guide that is going to be available for members of the community, you're going to be able to see all of the step-by-step, right? So if you wanted to go ahead and actually print this out and, have it next to you and go ahead and kind of go through every single section and do it that way, or you can just have a list next to you and go ahead and make that list and just go through it step by step by step. And then these over here, we've gone ahead and actually already linked these for you. So when you click on programs, it actually does go ahead and bring you down here to the program section. And then when you click on schedule, it actually does go ahead and bring you down here over to the scheduler, okay? And then again, remember, you do want to make sure that you are saving on every single step in the entire process. That's going to be very important. Now, of course, you're not done yet, right? So in the upcoming training, I'm going to walk you through, hey, how do you add the website chat? How do you add the form? How do you actually make sure that you can put this on your domain name so that way when you go live, it shows up on your website? All of that is going to be upcoming, the forms and all of that stuff, okay? But right now, what you want to do is you want to get as much of the edits and the customizing of the template done. And then as you're going through it, you can go ahead and click on that little eye icon right there, and then that'll show you exactly what that looks like, right? So if I go ahead and look down, there's that blue that we made the change right there. There's those icons. We removed the TikTok and the YouTube on there, right? So we deleted that one lady's picture over here. We changed this over here. We changed all of our FAQs. So again, most of this is already done for you, but you will have to go in and there's that pop-up that shows up, right? So if I click on the button, there's that pop-up and there's that logo that we went ahead and put right there as we were building everything out. So again, you've seen however long we've been going through on this exact training right now, right? It shouldn't take you more than, I would say, an hour, maybe 2 hours. Like literally lock the phone away, lock the door, shut the windows, like no distractions. You can get through this. Do not overcomplicate this, especially with how much we've gone ahead and already helped you get to where it is that you are looking to get to. This is really almost pretty much a ready to run template. All you got to do is you just got to go ahead and make those small tweaks for yourself. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training in regards to customizing the template. Again, just a reminder, do not overcomplicate this. Okay. Because we have a template that you can just build off of. You do not want to end up being a entrepreneur business owner who wears a failure uniform because you overcomplicated this. And you don't also want to be a unprofessional individual who literally does not spend any time on it, right? So if you come over here and let's say, for example, okay, I'm going to tell you, we're going to see people in the community's websites. If you come over here and this entire navigation header is black and then your logo has a white background on it, right? So imagine if somebody comes in here and we open up people's websites, okay? And then over here, this is what your website looks like, okay? This is, let's say hypothetically, we come over here and you literally have on a black background, you have a white logo, like that's going to look terrible, right? And so at the same time, or it doesn't show up or something, take the time, make it good, invest the time, right? Even if it takes you a little bit longer, I know we've said an hour or 2 hours, but take a few days, like actually make it really, really good because this is what your image on the internet looks like. And don't just think, oh yeah, I do in-person or, I do hybrid or whatever. No. Even in-person people, you better bet the very first thing they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and literally look at what your brand presence looks like online. And so this is representing you in the same way. How does your hair look? How do you dress? How do you speak, right? All of that has a first impression. This is what we're talking about when it comes to your website. You want to make sure that you are setting that first impression well, so that way you can actually grow in your business. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been this training on customizing the template. If you do end up getting stuck, make sure you reach out to the community. There's going to be other individuals who can help you along the process. And hey, if you are succeeding at this and you're like, yo, this was a piece of cake for me, then go into the community and help others, okay? Because this is how a community works. You are inevitably going to have issues getting to where it is that you want to get to with your income goals. And what you're going to do is that you're going to need help from somebody else. But if you never helped somebody else, there's no reason that they are going to help you. And so how it works is that you got to be able to build the goodwill with the community so that way others will see you helping, and then that way they will help you as well. So go out there, get the template customized, and if you have any questions or run into any issues, make sure you go ahead and ask the community. With that being said, we will catch you in the next training. Hey team, welcome to this training that is going to be talking about the SEO metadata. Okay, so setting up your metadata is going to be very important. We've talked about it previously in one of the tech tutorials, but I want to go ahead and walk you through it right now so you understand the importance of it, and we'll walk you through some of the recommendations around it so that way you can go ahead and make sure that you are optimizing yourself to go ahead and get leads automatically from your local area, because there are literally hundreds of millions, if not, I would say definitely hundreds of millions of people in your local area who are searching, right? Obviously, maybe not billions of people in your local area, but definitely hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in your local area every single day searching for help and support for whatever it is that you do in your business in your local area. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and walk you through how to be able to tap into that traffic that is coming in. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that you are going to be here under sites, and this applies both either to websites or to funnels. We're going to go ahead and talk about it on the funnel side of things. You're going to select the website that you are going to be editing. From there, I'm a big fan of going ahead and hitting open in a new tab, so that way I can preserve the original tab on there. Doesn't matter how you do it, you can hit edit directly if you would like. And then the button that we're going to go ahead and actually use on here is going to be the button that says SEO metadata. Okay, so it's going to be this button right here with that little magnifying glass. Okay, and what's going to happen here is that when we click on that, you'll see that we have all of this kind of blank space here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do our best to go ahead and fill this out for you ahead of time, but it's important for us to make sure that you are empowered to understand how to set this up yourself so you have the skill set for the rest of your career as a business owner. Now, we've talked about the importance of this previously, but I want to go ahead and make sure that we are on the same page here, okay? So SEO metadata is what is going to allow Google and different search engines and social media to index or search and know what this page is actually about. Because once the search engines and the social media platforms know what this page is actually about, they can then actually index it. And so that way, when people are actually searching for, hey, you know what? I need a personal trainer near me. I need a health coach near me. I need a physical therapist near me. I need a nutritionist near me. I need a whatever it might be, any sort of business, that is what is going to tell the social media platforms exactly what this is. Okay, so how you do this is once you open up your website and your funnel, you click on SEO metadata, and here you can go ahead and edit what the title is going to be. Okay, you can go and edit the description, the keywords, the author, the social image. Now, our recommendation is that based off of what industry you're in, you can go ahead and edit the title, description, keywords, author, and social image. Okay, so for the title, we would recommend, hey, go ahead and use what we have here if this is applicable to you, right? And so this is going to be here, personal trainer near me. This is a good keyword. Online trainer near me, virtual personal trainer near me, Zoom trainer near me, right? Dallas, Texas. All of these are going to be different keywords that somebody might actually search for, right? Same thing is going to apply here for the description. So you can go ahead and put that in there, right? And so you'll see here, this is what the SEO preview looks like once somebody's actually searching on there. Okay, now this is not going to be an entire SEO course on how to actually properly search engine optimize. If that's what you need, go ahead and let us know inside of the community so we can go ahead and build that out for you. But we just want to go ahead and walk you through, hey, this is the overall kind of recommendation as you're getting started here, right? So keywords, again, something very similar here over there. And then let's say, for example, author, going to be John Smith, right? If that's your name, right? Don't put John Smith if that's not your name. And then social media image, this is going to be where you can go ahead and upload your logo. So you can go ahead and click on this little picture here and upload your logo and have it already be there as well. Now, in terms of custom meta links and canonical links, those are going to be a little bit more advanced, specifically when we talk about more advanced SEO. So we're not going to touch base on that here inside of this video, but the main thing that we want to just go ahead and touch base on here is, hey, make sure you are updating your SEO metadata. It is important, and at least for you to have the minimum viable branding side of things, so that way you have all of this properly built out. Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the importance of SEO metadata. Make sure you go into your website and just remember that you got to do this for every single page that you have inside of your website. Now, we're going to make it very easy for you, so that way you're not going to have a gazillion number of pages. We're actually going to go ahead and build a lot of this out for you and probably put a lot of that SEO metadata in there for you as well. But make sure that you just do that and check it for if you do have more than a few pages there. Now, the other thing is that after you do that, right? So let's say, for example, we come over here, we put all of that there, right? So John Smith was the name. I went ahead and put my social media image there. And then what you do is update SEO metadata and then make sure you hit save. Very, very, very important. Now, whenever you hit save, it's going to pop this up. It's going to say, hey, you're saving. Is this the SEO metadata? Just confirm one more time. And it brings this up quite often. And so all you do is just verify everything looks good, update SEO metadata, hit save, and then you might have to hit save a couple of times in order for that orange dot to go away. Okay, so make sure you do that, because if you don't hit update SEO metadata and then you don't hit save, it's not going to actually work. And then if you have all of your domain and everything live, you can hit publish, and that way it's actually going to go ahead and make sure that that is published as well. Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is this specific training on the SEO metadata. Let the community know if you have any questions on this. But with that being said, we will catch you in the next training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this training step that's going to be about adding the Contact Us form to your website. Okay, so let me give you context as to what this is, so that way you're understanding exactly what we're building and how to actually build it, as well as I'm going to show you how we've already done 80 to 90%, if not 100% of the work for you, so that way you are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so we're going to go over to our website real quick, and I just want to show you, this is not where you're going to go to build a form, but I'm going to show you where the form is going to be. Okay, so what's going to happen here is if I scroll down, you'll see that we have this form right here, right? So which is, hey, request more information. So we got this full name, email address, phone number, right? And then if I open up the pop-up as well, you'll see that we have the same form, right? So it's the exact same form, but the same form is actually located inside of the pop-up as well. So how do we actually build this form? How does this form come into place, right? If I wanted to ask other questions on this form, let's say I wanted to have a form that was maybe for my clients and not just for my website, how would I build that, right? All of that is what we're going to go ahead and touch base on very quickly here inside of this training. So this is how we actually get to forms. Okay. So again, ClientKit is a softwares change their UI all the time, but you're going to find something like sites, and then you're going to go over here to forms. Okay. So at the top right here, you're going to go over to forms. Now, once you go over to forms, you're then going to go over here to the form builder. Okay. Once you get over here to the form builder, what's going to happen is that you're going to see on here a form that is called main website contact form. Now, you may not have all of these other forms on here. Okay. This is kind of like just a test account. So that's why all of these are on here. But if you actually sign up for ClientKit using our link, okay, that's one of the benefits of using the link that we provide. Not only does it allow us to be able to continue to provide amazing value for you, but it also allows you to be able to get insane value by having all of these assets already built out for you. Okay. So if you are missing this where it says main website contact form, make sure you go ahead and reach out via the community so we can make sure that you do go ahead and get that taken care of. But if I go over here and then I go over here to edit, right? If I click on the three dots and I then click on edit, you will see that that is the exact form that we have inside of the website. Hey team, this is us from the future. Just a real quick note before we get into the training here. I just want to go ahead and make a quick note that in the rest of this training that you are going through right now, we are about to show you how to edit and customize the main website contact form. And so we go over some of the different ways to customize and edit it. However, I want to make this clear right now is that you are going to see inside of your version, inside of your account, this terms and conditions box that's going to say, I agree to terms and conditions. And what's going to do is that this link for the terms and conditions is not going to be live just yet for you. This is actually going to be, this box and these terms and conditions is something that we set up in the next training that we go ahead and talk about when we talk about the website legal disclaimers. That's going to be the next training that we talk about. And I'm going to walk you through how to actually link the terms and conditions. So don't freak out if right now the terms and conditions is not linked for you, and or if you see something like this. Okay, now you also want to make sure that you do not, I want to make this clear, do not remove this box from your main website contact form, because we are going to need this in order to go ahead and get your business phone number application approved. That might not mean anything to you right now. You're like, what? Business phone number application? Don't worry, we'll go over it in the future. But for right now, I just wanted to record this quick note to go ahead and let you know, hey, for your main website contact form, do not make too many changes, or if any changes. We've already built this out so that way you do not have to make any changes. And for sure, do not remove the terms and conditions box, and do not worry if the terms and conditions do not work for you right now, or the link for those do not work for you right now. We will be setting that up in the next training. And then in the future, you do want to make sure that you are keeping an eye on the community, because like we've said many times before, there is no guru on the mountain. This is everybody helping each other up the mountain. So the latest, most cutting edge updates to the trainings, because here's the thing, these trainings are static. The most latest cutting edge updated trainings and announcements for those trainings are going to be inside of the community. And then only every couple months do we come in and actually update the training sections that you're going through, right? So right now you're probably a beginner, you're probably going through this for the first time, and that's the reason why you're using the course a lot. But then down the road, as you get up to speed, once you get through all the course, then it's going to be very beneficial for you to make sure you are up to speed with the community. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this was just a quick note. Let's go ahead and get back into the main training. Okay, now let's say hypothetically, I was over here and I wanted to change the color of this, right? So let's say, for example, I wanted to change this to blue, and then I wanted to actually change the text color. Let's see over here. So I got to change the text color, border, padding, text, right? So text right there. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to white. Boom, just like that. And so that's how you can make some changes on here. Now, let me walk you through the actual builder for forms really, really quickly. Okay, so just like in websites and funnels, there are different elements that we can actually add to a form. So you'll see on here, we can add, let's say, for example, we have a phone number already. We wanted to add an address. Okay. So I can add address right there. And then it goes ahead and adds an address over there. If I wanted to add a city, I could add a city. If I wanted to add a state, I could add a state, right? So all of that shows up like that. Then after that, we then have show notification settings. So this is if somebody fills out any one of these forms, it would go ahead and have a notification that would go out. And this would be either to the person who filled out the form, or this was send an automated email to the person who submits the form. So that's their autoresponder. And then this one is email notification for yourself, okay, when somebody actually fills out the form, or for really anybody who might even be in your organization, XYZ, right? So that's notification settings there. This right here, if you click on the pencil icon, you can actually change the name of the form there, okay? And then if I go ahead and click on style and options, it shows up over here and it shows me, okay, I have an inline form. If I turn that off, inline basically means 2 lines or 2 boxes per line, right? So therefore, that's what that shows up like, right? Show label, I can show the label of all of them. If I click on any one of these elements, I can have that be a required element, or I can have that be hidden, right? Or required if I want them to actually absolutely have to fill that in. If I go back over here to styles, you'll see on here we got an input style, we have line versus box, we got full screen mode, we got show label, right? All of these are small things. And of course, you can reach out to ClientKit support. They will actually go ahead and help you through this. They show you, I believe they also might even have a guided tour about this as well over here, perhaps. So there's a bunch of different resources that they have. If you do end up getting stuck, they have a lot of different articles there as well. You know, shadow, label, there's so many small things that you could play around with here. You know, background images and header images and all of that kind of stuff. Agency branding you can turn off and on, right? So if you want a ClientKit name to show up on your form or not. You then have different themes. So if you wanted to have different types of themes, they have themes on there as well. They also have different options in terms of the form name, you know, what happens when somebody submits. So in this case, it's going to actually give them a message that's going to say, thank you for taking the time to complete this form, right? So someone will be reaching out to you shortly, right? So that could be something that if you wanted to edit that, just a whole bunch of different kind of, you know, options that are on here. But again, we've already done most of the work for you. I'm going to go ahead and undo some of the changes that I made previously. So let me see if it'll allow me to undo. Let me see, undo. Okay, so I might have jacked this up because I probably made too many changes. So in this case, we didn't want address and we didn't want city and we didn't want state, right? So we wanted full name, phone, and email. Okay, cool. So that's cool. Then we go ahead and make sure we hit save, right? Because we changed the button to blue. Now, here's the thing. What we do is we have this form. We can then also go ahead and preview just like the same way we do in websites and funnels. If we hit preview, kind of like the eye icon, it'll show us what the form is actually going to look like if it's just the form by itself. We can also go ahead and click on integrate, and integrate's going to show us, hey, you know, how do you want this form to show up in different embed options, all of that stuff. But none of this is what we care about, okay? We don't care about any of this. The reason is because if I now go back and I go over to my website, I then go over here and I click on edit in a new tab. Here's the cool thing about this. Because it's already connected, you'll see that the button that we changed to this being next step blue should automatically show up here as next step blue over here as well. Okay, that did not show up. So why did that not show up? Now, because of the changes that we've made in the form, let me kind of bring this down so you can see, right? So all I'm doing is I'm switching between tabs, right? So in one tab, I have this form over here, right? We've made this blue. And then if I go over back to the page builder, which was over here with website, right? If we go back to the page builder, right over here, this form button should turn blue as well. It didn't turn blue. Why not? It's probably because it needs to be updated. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come over here. I'm actually going to go ahead and change this to a random form real quick. And then I'm going to go back to main website contact. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. So you'll see the changes that we were making on the form are actually represented in the website, but sometimes you just have to change them around in order for them to save. The same thing also applies for the form that is located inside of the pop-up. So you'll see on here, if I click on this, and then if I just change it around, let's say I go to a different form, and then I go back to the main website form, you'll see that this should turn blue, which it does. Beautiful. And then all we got to do is hit save, right? And then we hit update SEO metadata, because that'll show up. And of course, at this point, you probably have updated SEO metadata. If you haven't, make sure you go through that training because that will be coming up or has already come up. So that is saving on there. So that is how you go ahead and do that with the main website form, okay? However, you could also add different forms if you wanted to. Let's say you're going to start from scratch, right? So what you do is you go ahead and click on add form. And then of course you could start from a template. So they got a whole bunch of templates in here as well. But typically with forms, unlike websites and funnels, we usually start from scratch. So we click on scratch, right? Once you click on start from scratch, it'll then open up in here. Oopsie daisies, that kind of just opened up twice on there. Okay, there we go. go. So there we go. And then from here, you can then just go ahead and customize this. Let's say you want this to show inline. So you then say, you know what, show inline. And then let's say you don't want first name and last name, you want full name instead. So you come over here, you add a full name option on there. So you got full name, email, you edit the button, and this says this button here. Okay, just like that. And then this one is going to be, I'm going to just call this test form 7, right? And then I hit save. Beautiful. If you want to look at over here, let me just see, save over here. It's saving. There we go. And then trigger type, all these are a little bit more advanced if you wanted to show up in different places. But the main thing is if I go back over here to website, and then I go ahead and actually edit the website builder, I'm going to have to refresh here. So let me refresh, and you'll see what we called that was test form 7, right? And this button here, remember it says green, this button here. All I would do is I would scroll down, and then I would come over here to this, and I would select it, right? And then I would click this, and then I'd look for test form 7. And there it is, this button here, just like that, right? And so it goes ahead and puts that right in there. Now, if you wanted this to actually go down a little bit, because you see how the button now is hitting the black, what you might have to do is you might have to come over here and say, you know what, I got to edit this margin and this padding a little bit and see if that makes a difference. If that doesn't make a difference, then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to click on this little, the green part, and then I'm going to add a little bit more padding over here, so that way it separates each of these individual parts, right? So you can just mess with the padding, make sure it looks nice, all that nice stuff. And then I could come over here and change this form to that same as well, right? And again, I would have to mess around with some of the settings and some of the margin in order for it to work. But again, this is not something that you want to mess around with. I'm going to make this very, very clear. We have already gone ahead, and it's right over here, main website contact form, okay? It's already built out for you. You do not have to worry about all of this and building all of it out, because the only thing that you're gonna do is, and the only reason we're even making this is to show you, hey, the website form, you just wanna make sure that it is inside of your account. So you go over to Forms, Builder, you then make sure that you have the main website contact form, okay? You can then come in here and change the color of this. If you're changing the colors, if you're still doing that yellow kind of vibe, then you can leave it yellow, and then it's gonna work completely out of the box, already built out for you. So that way you don't have to worry about it, okay? But I just wanted to walk you through exactly how to create a form, how to make changes on a form, how to add the form onto your actual website, so that I showed you that, so that way you're empowered. And then make sure you hit save if you ever make any changes. And then of course this one, I want to go ahead and make this form back to our main one, because I don't want to mess around with that, okay? And then I can actually make the margin small again, because I want this to come up. There we go. And then I hit save, and we are rocking and rolling. Now, again, inside of the guide that is going to be available for members of the community, right? So if you are a member, then you will get access to the guide. It's going to say add a contact us form. There is a bunch of steps in there that you can follow along if you want to learn more about how the form builder actually works, how to actually make sure that you're going through that. Of course, you can then go in and analyze it. You can see submissions to different forms. All of these are going to be, you have an analysis of the different forms. You have, submissions, how many people saw the form, all of that. It gets a little bit advanced. You can go ahead and go really deep on forms, but we just wanted to show you exactly how to actually build all of that and put that on there, right? So part 2, adding it to your website, and then what you can do on here, which is something that I didn't show you, which was the element of it. So let's say I go over to the website, I then open this up in a new tab over here, is you can literally add the form element pretty much anywhere on the entire website, right? So you can come in here and literally say, you know what, I want to add a form right at the top. Well, all you do is you come over here, and then you add a form just like that, and then you select your form. So in this case, I'm going to just use the same form that we got, and look at that, I got a form right there. And so you can literally add a form anywhere on your website. You are now empowered to understand how it works. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is this tactical training on adding a contact us form, how forms work inside of ClientKit, as well as one of the insane benefits of having a business platform that has everything all in once. So that way you are not having to go over to JotForm or PandaDoc or DocuSign or any of these other form softwares, because you are able to go ahead and build everything in-house. So hope that makes sense. Go ahead and continue building out your amazing website, so that way you are rock and rolling with your awesome brand presence. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out into the community. With that being said, we will catch you in the next training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this training where we are going to be talking about adding the website chat widget to your website. So before we even get started here, you're going to be wondering, hey, what is the website chat widget? What is the benefit of it? How does it all work? So let me show you a visual. So the website chat widget is right here at the bottom right. And so right over here where it says, hello there, how can we help, right? So that is the website chat widget. Now, you must have seen this on websites that are really up and coming. These are kind of websites that have a very strong brand presence. They show that they are on top of it. And then on top of that, because of the fact that social media is so prevalent and like text messaging and all this stuff, now instead of people actually going out and like filling forms as much, right? So we talked about, in a previous training, or you're going to be able to get to it very shortly, is that we talk about having a form, right? So forms are awesome. Forms work phenomenal. However, what we're doing with a chat widget is that when somebody clicks on it, okay, it then opens up exactly like you would have ChatGPT or like an AI or like somebody that you're chatting with, right? It's extremely modern and it shows that the business is on top of what it is that they do. And so how it would work here is that there's a couple different settings on the back end that I'm going to walk you through, right? And so do not worry, this is not something that you got to monitor and chat with somebody 24/7. This actually kind of just works exactly like a form would, right? So in the same way that somebody would request more information, except this is a little bit more interactive because unlike a form, right? So over here, there's no place for the person to actually put a message, to be able to put what their questions might be. But here on a chat, once they put in their name, their email address, and their phone number, you'll see over here, it allows them to be able to actually have like a kind of long form message, exactly like they would be chatting with somebody. But then the really cool thing is, and I'm going to show you this in just a second, is that in the chat settings, you can set it up so that way it'll actually go ahead and let them know, hey, somebody's going to be with you, within the next 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it might be. And then, and this might be a little bit more advanced in this training, we might not get to it, but we can make additional trainings later on. You can actually program AI within ClientKit. This is very amazing, okay? ClientKit has AI. It's called Conversation AI. Conversation AI will actually, you can program it and train it to have conversations and answer questions on your behalf, not only for potential customers, for leads, for also clients. All of that is something that is trainable by ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what website chat is, okay? So it's an amazing way to be able to go ahead and get leads, as well as something that you can build on top of. And then once you have this on your website, and there are very, very few other platforms that have these awesome features like this all integrated together, once you have it, honestly, it is an absolute game changer, okay? So again, does this mean that you got to be sitting there 24/7 replying to people in chat? Like we said, you can collect the leads and those would show up under your contacts inside of ClientKit. Okay, so we're going to walk you through exactly what that looks like, exactly how all of this works. But once somebody fills all that information out, it's going to show up under contacts, and then you would have their lead information, and then you are able to go ahead and actually text message them, email them, and all of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually set up the website chat widget, and then I'm going to show you how to literally, with the click of a button, how to go ahead and put that on your website. Okay, so what we are going to go ahead and do right now is we are going to go ahead and, again, ClientKit is a software company. Software companies change their UI all the time. But as of right now, we're going to be going over to Sites on the left side, and then we're going to go over to Chat Widget, okay? So Sites and then Chat Widget, all right? And then from there, what you're going to see is that we have a couple different options, okay? So we have Chat Bubble, Chat Type, Widget Window, and Acknowledgement Settings, okay? Now, again, because ClientKit is a software company, they might be adding more features to this. They might change some of the titles, but as of right now, that is what it looks like, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first setting on here, which is the chat bubble, okay? So this is going to control all of the settings for the actual chat bubble. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead and make sure that this is turned on right here, okay? So chat bubble, this is going to be turned on. And then right over here where it says intro message, this is kind of like the little pop-up that shows up. Now, you're more than welcome to go ahead and change this. Now, in the guide that is available for community members, we actually have a step-by-step and some initial intro messages and different kind of settings that you can put on here. But the intro message that we've used, but again, it's totally up to you right now. The default is, hi there, have a question, text us here. Or you can say, hello there, how can we help, right? So that could be another one that if you wanted to go ahead and change it up, you could do that if you choose, right? From there, you can add an avatar image. Right now, they have the image of this lady, but if you want to add an image of yourself, you're more than welcome to. If you want to go into Canva, and it says recommended size is 300 pixels by 300 pixels, right? So you can go ahead and actually create one inside of Canva if you really wanted to. And I'll just show you how that works real quick, right? So you go into Canva and then you would go to create a design, and then you could go to custom size, and then it would allow you to be able to put 300 by 300 pixels, and PX means pixels. And then you could create the new design, and then you'd be able to go ahead and create a picture that way if you wanted to do so by putting your own image on there. That'd be completely up to you, okay? Or you can just leave the lady, totally up to you and how you want to do that, okay? Now, over here, return visitors. You can enable a custom greeting for those who are return visitors, because the actual website will know who are the people that are coming back to the website. How cool is that? And then not only that, but then return visitors, you can actually have it so that way if they actually entered their name previously, the website would recognize that and put their name in the actual message. Honestly, how amazing is that, right? So you say, welcome back, and then you say, welcome back, John, right? Or welcome back, Stacy, welcome back, Tina. How can we help you today, right? And so that is going to be kind of the default message that even we're going to recommend on there. No issues there, okay? Beautiful. With that being said, that is the chat bubble settings. That's the first, as you're following along with this video, I would highly recommend just go ahead and follow along step by step by step. So by the end of this video, you will have all of this set up, okay? So next up we have is chat type. Now, this is very important because this is where we have the setting for whether or not you're going to be sitting there 24/7 or you're actually going to be collecting the lead information. You are going to make sure that this is set up to SMS or email chat, okay? And you want to leave this on that. Why? Because as you can read underneath there, it says this chat will collect the visitor's information so that way you can respond to them via SMS or email later. It is great for small teams that are not staffed 24/7. And obviously, that's probably going to be you. Now, obviously, if you do have a team and you have somebody who can handle customer support and is just sitting there all the time, then obviously there is a live chat feature available, just like you might have seen on some of these bigger companies, right? However, of course, for you, that is not going to be something that you utilize right now. But of course, we're showing you where the option is so that way you understand how all these features work, okay? So make sure that this is on SMS or email chat, okay? Very, very important. That is going to be for chat type. Next up, we're then going to go ahead and talk about widget window. And right over here, this is going to talk about the actual window that opens up when somebody hits on the chat, right? So the header, have a question. You can go ahead and leave that if you would like, all right, from there. Then from there, you have intro message. And the intro message right now says, enter your question below and a representative will get right back to you, okay? Now, that sounds a little bit too kind of, formal. It sounds a little bit too kind of serious on there. Instead, what you could do is you could have this intro message, send us a message. We typically reply within 24 hours, okay? So you could put that one on there. That's pretty awesome there. Then over here, add an email field. I would recommend turning that on. We do have that in the settings as well. So turning on the email field on, okay? Then the CTA, you could put it as send. Inside of the guide, we recommend putting it as send message. So again, totally up to you, but we're gonna go ahead and put send message. Now the legal message on here says, by submitting, you agree to receive SMS and emails, provided channel rates may be applied, okay? So that's perfectly fine. If you would like to go ahead and use that, we recommend that inside of the guide as well, okay? Now widget color, this could be according to what your brand colors might actually be, okay? So if you wanted to go ahead and change this, you wanted to make it red, you wanted to make it green, you wanted to make it blue, whatever you wanted to do, that is completely up to you. And they also do have hex codes. If you know how to use that, you can go ahead and customize that with that as well, okay? So that is going to be the widget window and all of the settings with the widget window. From there, we go ahead and get into the acknowledgement settings, okay? And so the acknowledgement greeting on here says, thank you. Inside of the actual guide, we have a little bit of a colorful one where we say, thanks for your message with a heart, okay? So again, you can go ahead and use the one that's default. You can change it up, completely up to you, but we're just going ahead and putting our recommendations. If we were going to do it, that is how we would actually program it. Next up, after that, we then have the acknowledgement message. Now, again, it says representative. We're not fans of this whole representative language. And so we have on here, we look forward to helping you out. One of our team members will be reaching out to you, right? So we like that message a little bit better. And so that way it's a little bit more friendly. It's a little bit more of a nice greeting, okay? Now, as we close that out, this is very important, very, 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 very important. Make sure that you go ahead after doing that, hit save, because if you do not hit save, everything that we just did right now is not going to save, okay? So make sure you go ahead and hit save right there, very important. Now, after you've gone ahead and hit save, how do we actually get this website chat widget onto your actual website, okay? This is how we do it. Now, if you had, let's say, for example, a different website provider, you're like, you know what, I need the code in order to do this. You could actually just grab the code there, but you know what, we're not gonna do it via code. What we're gonna do is, because we have an all-in-one integrated business platform, we are able to actually go ahead, and because it's all integrated, all we got to do is we just go over to websites, okay? We find our website right there. We click on the website. We then go ahead and click on settings, okay? And watch how easy this is going to be, okay? We go ahead and click on settings. And then right over here, if we scroll down just a little bit, you're going to see the setting for chat widget. Okay, and literally just like the click of a button, all we need to do is we just go ahead and click on boom, enable, and then we go ahead and click on save. Very important, okay? Make sure you do go ahead and hit save. Now you give it a second, it's gonna save, then it's gonna kick you back right over to the main screen. So again, I like to go over to settings again, make sure that it is in fact saved right there, okay? Beautiful. Then I'm gonna go back over here to pages, and what I can do is I can go ahead and hit that preview link, that button right over there, and when I click on preview link, it's then going to show up, and boom, shakalaka, there we go. Look at that thing on the bottom right. That is exactly what we went ahead and set up, and that is now live on the actual website. Okay, and so exactly the way that I said it was going to be, click of a button, it literally allows us, because it's all integrated, all in one place, everything is easy to be able to find, it shows us the chat widget right inside of the website chat. Okay, so again, all of the instructions are there. One thing I will go ahead and mention that is very important is this option for chat widget is not going to show up. Okay, if you don't see this chat widget option over here, it means that you did not save when you were editing the chat widget settings. Okay, because until you actually go into the chat widget settings, you actually look at it and then you hit save. After you hit save, only then will the chat widget show up under the settings of the website. Okay, so that is a very important distinction that I want to go ahead and make very clear to you right now. Beautiful. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. You are now a chat widget wizard inside of the ClientKit, and you understand exactly how it works inside ClientKit. Okay, so beautiful. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training on adding the chat widget to your website. Again, it's going to make sure that your website is professional. It has an amazing brand presence. It shows that you are on top of it. It really adds a lot of authority and credibility. Having these small pieces that consumers start to get used to, that they know, you know what, by association, whenever I went over to XYZ website, it was a very large, company. It was a very professional company. They had these things called chat widgets. And so you show yourself as not only and how your website looks and the professionalism of it, but you show yourself as, hey, you know what? We know what we are doing and we are on top of it. Okay. And then it's just another way for you as a business to be able to go ahead and collect leads and be able to get other people who are interested in your products and services into your system. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and make sure you follow these instructions and get all of this activated. It shouldn't take you more than, look at that. It took us like almost 10 minutes over here, a little bit more than 10 minutes to be able to walk you through this. And I was literally explaining it to you live. And so it took a little bit longer, but literally it should have gone ahead and done it together. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you in the next training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this training that's going to be walking you through how to actually connect your domain to your funnel or to your website. Okay, so this is going to apply both to funnels or websites. So let me go ahead and show you. If I go ahead and go over to a random one on here, I go over to settings, you'll see that over here, you have to connect this to a specific domain. Otherwise, the actual steps, right, it says, hey, you don't have a domain on here. The same thing is going to apply here over to your websites, is that if you do not have a domain connected, then it's not going to actually be live. Remember, a domain is kind of like your address. Like you have a residential address where you live, right, to get mail. The domain is, hey, where do people go in order to actually get to your website? Okay, so we're going to walk you through exactly how to connect the domain. Now, you should have already purchased your domain. That was a whole separate section in terms of, hey, how do domains work? What is a domain registrar? Where do I actually purchase my domain? And so this is going to assume that you have already purchased your domain. Okay, if you haven't done that, make sure you go over to that training separately. So the very first thing we're going to do inside of ClientKit is we're going to go over here to the bottom where it says settings. Okay, so we're going to go over here to settings. From here, we are then going to go down over to domains. Okay, so settings, we then click on domains. Now, of course, I have some test domains here. Don't worry about those. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how to go ahead and add it from scratch. We then go ahead and click on add right over here. And from here, it's going to go ahead and tell us, hey, go ahead and input your domain. Now, in my case, I have a random example domain that is purchased through Cloudflare, which again is our recommended domain registrar. So what you're going to do on here is you're going to go ahead and type in your domain name. Okay, obviously do not type in theyassine.com because that is not going to be your domain name. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and enter in the domain name there. And yes, you can also go ahead and add the www. value. That's not really an issue there, so you can go ahead and do that. And then you go ahead and click on continue, okay? Now, when you do that, okay, it is actually going to go ahead and do all of the changes for you. Now, this is really cool, okay? Right here, your domain provider, this is something that ClientKit has done recently that is really, really awesome, is that they are going to detect what is your domain provider, who is your domain registrar, right? And this is, again, the reason why we recommend purchasing your domain from Cloudflare is because they have a very easy and seamless integration with the business platform, okay? Now, what you're going to see on here is that it's going to ask me to authorize my domain, and what it's going to do is going to add some of these what are known as DNS settings to my Cloudflare domain, okay? And so these are what the settings are going to be. Now, in previous trainings, we used to actually have to walk students through how to do this themselves, and that might still be the case for other advanced things when we get to in the future, but the beautiful thing right now is that a ClientKit is going to add all of this for you so that way you don't have to worry about it, okay? So all we're going to go ahead and click is authorize domain, and when we do that, it is going to go ahead and take us over to our Cloudflare account where we are going to then have to log in, and then once we actually log in, it's going to show us, hey, these are what you are going ahead and authorizing the DNS settings from Lead Connector. Lead Connector is also another name for the platform that ClientKit is built on top of, okay? And it shows you, hey, these are the settings. You then go ahead and click on authorize, and then when you do that, it's going to go ahead and take you back over to ClientKit. You give it about 30 seconds here, and what's going to happen is that it's going to go ahead and make those changes on the Cloudflare domain registrar for you and add your domain into the actual business platform system. Now, this is so important because once you connect all of this, you can then point that address of your website or your funnel directly to what your domain is going to be, okay? So let's go over here to the guide and make sure that we have hit all of this while it goes ahead and finishes on here. You'll see it's gone ahead and finished already, but you'll see on here on the ClientKit, we went over to settings, we hit add, and then what we did is we logged into Cloudflare and then went ahead and did all of that for us. And then you'll see, boom, the domain has been added successfully. And what we can now do is actually link the domain with a funnel or a website, right? So if I click on this, it'll show me all of these different funnels or websites, and I also have additional options that I can do on here, okay? So what I'm gonna go ahead and do for right now is I'm not gonna, if you know which one you want to link, so let's say in this case, Total Wellness Nutrition is the test website that we were messing around with. If you know which one you want to link, you can do that here. If you don't, you can go ahead and click on the X. That's not really a problem there, okay? And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go back over to the website and connect that. Now, real quick, I do want to go ahead and mention here, you see this little red icon on here? What this is showing you, and this is important to know as well, is that the actual, if you remember in the domain training, we talked about the naked domain. The naked domain is the domain without any www. Right? This is the actual domain. Now, whenever anybody goes to www. Whatever the domain actually might be, what you want to do is you want to be able to redirect the traffic from www to your naked domain. Now, if none of that makes sense, don't worry about it. But what I want you to know here is that ClientKit is actually set up to automatically set up this redirect. So if you go over here to URL redirects on the left side, what you'll see is that what ClientKit has automatically done for us, which in the past we actually had to do this manually ourselves, which now you'll see it actually does it for us. It's just that anytime anybody goes to www. Whatever the domain name might be, it'll go ahead and actually forward them to the naked domain, which is very helpful and which is very, very awesome. Okay, so now that that is done, what we're going to do is we are going to go back. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go back over to sites. We're going to go back over to websites. We're going to go back over to the website or funnel. Remember, all these same settings apply to funnel as well, okay? What we're going to then go ahead and do is click on settings right here. Once we click on settings, right over here where it says domains, we can now actually go ahead and connect it. Now, this is very important. We want to go ahead and connect it to the naked domain, okay? So what we want to do is we want to connect it to the one that is not www, okay? So we just go ahead and click on that right there. And then boom, just like that, after that we hit save. And then what's going to happen now is that it is going to go ahead and put that entire website on the actual domain. And boom, just like that. It's literally as simple as that. Now, there are actual specific page paths, right? So each of these, it's called a path. This is when somebody goes to your domain, right? If I go ahead and hit on preview link, what you're going to notice on here, I'm going to drag this down so you can see, it says dyasin.com/home-9270, right? And the reason it's saying that is because this specific page has this specific path. And so what we're going to do is in the very next training video, we're going to go ahead and walk you through how to update your paths, both for funnels and websites. So that way you can have a very clean path up here now that you actually have your domain set up, right? Because before we did this entire training, it would not be on your actual domain, because now it is on your domain. And from there, we can actually go ahead and clean up the paths. So that way everything looks nice and tidy. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training on how to connect your domain. Just take it step by step. If you have any questions, run into any issues, make sure you do go ahead and reach out to ClientKit support, or you can also go ahead and reach out, or I should say, and go ahead and reach out after and if you do not get the help you need from ClientKit to the community. So that way one of the community members who might be ahead of you might be able to go ahead and help you with this, or they might have figured it out already as well. Okay, so settings, domains, connected, Cloudflare, automatic, takes care of it. From there, connected inside of the website, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. With that being said, we will catch you in the next training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this quick training that's going to walk you through updating your page path. So in a previous training, we went ahead and talked about getting your website or your funnel on your actual domain, right? So we said, go over your funnel, go over your domain. You then go over to settings, domains, you put it on there, right? Then what you're going to do is you are going to go ahead and go through each and every single one of the different pages, okay? And you're going to go ahead and make sure that it looks how you want it to look. So in this case, we hit home and then we hit update page. And then that way, I hit update page, give it a second because it is updating, okay? You then go ahead and click on settings again and see if it actually saved. In that case, it did. We then go over to the next one and say, okay, you know what? Settings, I don't want this to be 4924. I just want it to be contact. You hit update page, and then that way you can actually have all of your URLs all nice and tidy, right? So that way, if I go ahead and hit preview link, I drag this down, you'll see it says on the actual test domain, dyasin.com/home is what it is actually on, okay? Now, let me show you what this actually looks like on the funnel side of things, because sometimes it can be a little bit different on there, okay? So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and go over to settings. I'm gonna put this on the naked domain. I'm gonna hit save. Now, on the funnel side of things, you'll see on here, it says some paths are updated due to URL conflicts with other funnels. I'll say, okay, no problem there. Because what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna go ahead and see, hey, is this actually conflicting with other paths that I'm looking for, right? So over here, it says dyasin.com/join free. But the thing is that on the funnel side of things, and again, this may or may not apply to you right now based off of where you are. We're just showing you this so that way you're familiar, is that on the website, we only had it in one place that we had to update, right? But here on the funnel side, there's actually two places. We have to go over to publishing. And then right over here, I'm going to change this, let's say to /join free, update step. Okay. And then I also have to go and update it in the split section. And this is actually one of the differences between a funnel and a website, is that on a funnel, you can actually A/B test, split test changes, right? And this is the reason why funnels are helpful for marketing purposes, for paid ads and those kinds of things, because you can actually A/B test between, hey, I made this small tweak. I want to go ahead and duplicate this page and make this small tweak and see, hey, does it perform better in terms of conversions? Versus on a website, you cannot do that, right? But then what we got to do is we also have to go in and change what the actual setting is going to look like on the actual individual page. And so what we do is we click on this cog icon that is right over here, okay? And then we go ahead and hit setting. And then usually I just like to go ahead and put this as like join free -1, update page. And then what's going to happen here is that you'll see that the main URL here is dyasin.com/join free, okay, join free, which is the one that we have put for publishing. But then it'll also, in case I ever do a split test, I have -1 here. And then if I ever did a split test, right, create variation, and then I can do, let's say, duplicate the control page. And then this would be if I ever did a split test. Again, don't worry about this right now. Don't get overwhelmed, okay? I'm just showing you that this is if you ever did that in the future, that's what it would potentially look like. And then you can mess around with what the actual individual URLs would be there, okay? So on the funnel side of things, again, you'll see on here, group TYP. In this case, I would come over here, clean this up right here, update step. And then I would go over to, give that a second, I would go back over to overview, hit setting, and then I would put group TYP/1. So you have /group1-1, update page. And then from there, that'll go ahead and clean that up nice and easy. Okay, so that is what we wanted to go ahead and walk you through in terms of updating your page paths, both on websites. Okay, so website, settings, It's on your domain. And then, oh, right here. Okay, we got to fix this as well, right? So we're going to go over here and we're going to go ahead and make this home. Now, here's the thing. I think, let's see if it'll save, because we already have a home, right? So we have a dyassin.com/home. And so we got to be a little bit mindful of, did it mess this one up? Let's check. Nope, this one's good. And then let's check if this one's saved over here. I hit X, I go to settings. You see, because it doesn't allow you to have duplicate page paths. And so in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and put this probably as just like home 1 or something like that, right? So if I hit save, in that case, it will go ahead and properly save there because it is different than what was there, right? So this is settings, home 1. And then we got our individual page paths right over here. Okay. So again, based off of the template that you have, and if you follow the instructions on the template that we're going to provide in picking the template, we're going to do our best to make sure that a lot of these changes are already done for you. But again, we're empowering you to know, hey, where is all of this? How do I do this myself? Because all of that is going to be very important for you to learn and understand yourself. Okay. So you got it right here, websites, settings, domain. You got your main path right over here. And then you got your individual page paths there. On the funnel side of things, very, very similar there. You go over to settings, you got your domain over there. You have your path over here as well, similar to website. And then you have your individual funnel steps, which have to be updated, which page path on the publishing, as well on the individual split testing as well. And that is with the settings cog. But again, don't worry about the split test for now. In fact, I will go ahead and actually delete this so that way I do not have to worry about it. Boom. Because I don't want to have we're not running a split test right now. So why would I have a split test that is live on there, right? So it goes ahead and deletes that, and then it shows me archived pages on there, right? But I like to go ahead and do that for the page path, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, that is updating the page path. Hope that made sense. Let the community know if you have any questions. Again, this is probably something that if you have questions about the platform, TCK support can help. If you have questions about the specific assets that we are providing you or the business model and the strategy, then that's going to be questions for the community. Okay. So with that being said, we will catch you in the next training. Hey team, inside of this training, we are going to go ahead and walk you through very quickly an important step in getting your website live, which is optimizing for mobile. Okay, this is very important, and you'll see that I do have ClientKit open in the back because I am going to go ahead and walk you through it very quickly, but this is important, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a background understanding of what we're talking about here. Okay, so one of the final steps as we go ahead and talk about launching your website is something known as conversion rate optimization and optimizing for mobile. Okay, so conversion rate optimization, you're going to hear this a lot as you start to become a professional business owner and you start to be able to learn more about marketing and sales. Conversion rate optimization, CRO, stands for a process of increasing the percentage of conversions from a website or a mobile app. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain this to you so that way you understand the importance of what it is that we are talking about. Because remember, we here are all about educating you and empowering you so that way in your business journey, you are not a prisoner to some guru who is trying to convince you that you need to buy their course or you need to buy, whatever they have to sell you. No. You're learning the skills so that way you have the freedom and flexibility to be able to run your business for the rest of your life and be able to put food on the table for you and your family for the rest of your life, independent of the economy, independent of the government. It does not matter what. You have the skills to be able to do this. Okay, so let me explain to you exactly why this is so important. Because what's going to happen here is that whenever you have a website, whenever you have a funnel, whenever you have any sort of marketing or sales that is going on the internet, okay, what's happening is that as you have these web pages, you are optimizing the text, the images, the sizing on these web pages so that way more and more people will move through your funnel or your website, okay? And so what you do is that you go ahead and make it either more interesting for them, you make it more eye-catching for them, you make it more optimized, okay? So don't be afraid of, these fancy terms. Just optimize means make it better, okay? And so we make it optimized so that way more people will actually go through the actual website, because the more people that go through what it is that we are providing, the more chance they have to become prospects or leads or whatever it is that we are converting for, right? Customers maybe, okay? So how do we do this? How do we actually primarily do conversion rate optimization, okay? Primarily, what a lot of people do, number one, is what we do is we optimize for the space that is on the actual web page, okay? Either both on desktop or on mobile, or I should say rather, and on mobile, okay? Because what we are paying attention to is what is known as above or below the fold, okay? And so what we're doing is we're making sure that, and I'll explain to you what above the fold means in just a second, we're making sure that the space that is optimized, that first shows up when somebody lands on our funnel or on our website, is optimized for being able to have the most amount of information, okay? And so what that basically looks like is right here, above the fold versus below the fold, okay? The fold basically just means that when somebody opens up the website, okay, whether that be on their computer or on their mobile device, that first part that actually shows up without having to have them scroll, all of that is known as above the fold. Anything that is on the web page or on the funnel or on the website that is actually making them have to scroll, that means that that is below the fold, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to be talking about in this training in just a second is optimizing your website for mobile, so that way it actually looks good, it actually looks decent on mobile, and that way it actually has a decent chance towards being above the fold properly as well. Now, this lesson that you're learning right now is also going to be critical when we walk you through how to be able to set up sales and marketing funnels, right? For whether that be for organic traffic, whether that be for paid ads, whatever it might be, we're going to be walking you through in upcoming courses all about funnels and marketing funnels and sales funnels and all of that. And so that is going to apply for all of that once you're actually doing that as well, okay? So again, I'm just showing you a couple of different examples of here that we're going to go ahead and show you in the future courses about how to actually optimize the space properly, so that way you are in fact getting the leads that you are looking to get to, okay? So we do this in a couple of different ways. We adjust the padding, we adjust the text size, we adjust the image size, we adjust it on mobile, we adjust it on desktop. All of these are different things that we kind of play around with in order to make sure that the web page, the website, or the funnel looks the way that we want it to. Now, again, this is a skill, and I'm going to emphasize this again and again and again. This is a skill, and a skill equals knowledge times repetition, okay? So you're getting the knowledge right now, and then if this is the first time you're doing this, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but trust me, it will get easier as you get an idea of how all of this works, okay? So with that being said, what we're going to go ahead and do right now is I'm going to go ahead and cut over so we can go ahead and together optimize your website for mobile, and guess what? The beautiful thing is we've already done 90% of the work for you, okay? So I'm just going to walk you through this, and it's going to be amazing. So let me go ahead and cut over to that now. All right, so here we are, step-by-step optimizing web pages for mobile. Again, we've done 90% of the work for you. So I will go ahead and walk you through exactly how all of this works. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and go over to sites. We're then going to go ahead and go over to websites. We're then going to go ahead and open up your specific website that you have been editing. Now, I do want to go ahead and make this very clear. This also does apply to funnels, okay? Because remember, funnels and websites work very, very similarly. The only difference is that there are some features in funnels that help for marketing and data tracking purposes, like split testing and a little bit additional data features, okay? But websites and funnels are very, very similar in that regard. So right now, I'm just going to walk you through how it works for websites. However, I do want to make this clear that the same applies for funnels as well, okay? So what we do is we go ahead and edit in a new tab, okay? Now, if you want to go ahead and click on edit normally, that is totally up to you as well. And then what we're going to go ahead and do here, and this is very important, is we're going to go ahead and click on mobile mode right over here, okay? So you'll notice that inside of the builder right over here, there is desktop mode and there is mobile mode, okay? And so right now what we are doing is we're previewing what the end result, this is what is called a what you see is what you get type of website builder, drag and drop website builder. It makes it very easy to actually go in and edit a website, right? Because exactly what it looks like on here is exactly the way that it's going to look like when it is live to the people who see it, right? So unlike you having to go ahead and write a bunch of code and learn, HTML and learn JavaScript and CSS, and all of these are coding languages, all of these new technologies allow us to be able to create websites effortlessly and easier, and this has only been available over the last couple years, right? Before that, it used to be much more difficult to be able to actually make a website. Right now, it's much, much easier. Now, what we do is we switch from desktop mode over to mobile mode, okay? And what it's going to show us, it's going to show us what the website is going to look like on mobile. Now, what you will notice is that, guess what? This looks pretty dang optimized. Exactly, because we've already done a lot of the hard work to optimize everything for this website. Now, what you need to do is you need to go in and just verify and look at everything to make sure that everything is looking good, right? So you see on here, this is Becky, this is Kayla, this is Michelle, this is Terry. Now, one thing I want to go ahead and show you, and this is very important because sometimes this can be confusing for some people. Sometimes you can actually have the desktop view and the mobile view look different. Let me show you what that means over here, okay? So if I scroll over here to the testimonials, you will see that on the desktop view, here on the desktop view, I have Becky and I have Kayla, okay? So I have two testimonials here. But then when I shift over here to the mobile view and I scroll down over to the testimonials, I have Becky, I have Kayla, and then what is this? I got Michelle and I got Terry. Like, what is going on here? Like, this was not showing up in the actual desktop view. And that is because sometimes in order to make things optimized, what you have to do is you have to make an element. Remember, we've talked about elements before? You have to make an element only specific to desktop and an element only specific to mobile. Now, stick with me here. I know that sounds complicated, but again, do not be overwhelmed. This is just a skill, just like when you were learning to tie your shoes or you were learning to ride a bicycle. In the same way, the first time you did it, it was probably difficult. And then the repetition, it gets easier and easier and easier, right? So let me show you what this is. If I click on the little right here, I'm going to click on the setting cog. And then what I do is I go over to advanced. And what you will see here is that there is the option for visibility, okay? Now this option for visibility has a desktop, right? It looks like a computer monitor, and then it has a mobile device. Now you'll notice that here, in this case, only the desktop is showing. Now, why is only the desktop showing? Because what it's telling me is that this kind of column here, right? This purple, right? We're looking at third column over here. This purple is only going to show up on desktop. And so what has happened here is that there is actually two versions of these columns. There is what is showing up on the desktop side of things, and then there is what is showing up on the mobile side of things. And again, we do that because sometimes for certain elements, they don't resize properly in both elements, right? So now, of course, you could come over here and let's say, for example, I wanted to go ahead and turn this visibility from only desktop to desktop and mobile. So now you see here what's happening is that this specific column is only available on desktop. And then on top of that, remember, if you remember, we talked about green and then it goes to blue and then it goes to purple, right? So you'll see that right over here, let me see if I can get this to pause for me real quick. You'll see, I'm gonna try to grab my pointer. I can't do it, but you'll see right here where my mouse is, that desktop screen right there, it's telling me that this element, okay, this section is only available on desktop only, right? Even if I put my mouse over, you'll see it says desktop only, right? And then if I go over to the green is showing me that if I go over to settings, and then I go over to advanced, it's showing me that it's available on both. And so watch this right here, okay? If I go over here and I switch this blue over to both desktop and mobile, okay? And then I come over here, let me check the purple. The purple is now on desktop and mobile also. Okay, beautiful. Now check this out. If I go now over to the mobile view, you're going to see that I'm going to have double. I'm going to have a Becky and a Kayla. That is going to be this one. And then I'm going to have another Becky and Kayla that is going to be the mobile view. Watch this. Check this out, okay? We're going to come down over here. We got Becky 1. We got Kayla 1. And then guess what? We got Becky 2 and we got Kayla 2. Now, the reason is because you'll see how all this, the spacing on this is all janky, because this specific module has to belong only to right here. I got to go back and switch this. I got to go to settings and I'm going to switch this to show up only on desktop. So only the blue is what is going to be highlighted. Now, again, if this is going over your head and you're like, oh, what the heck? This is confusing. What's going on here, right? We've already done 99% of the hard work for you, but I'm just showing you a little bit more behind the scenes. So again, you'll know that our spiel here is that we want you to be empowered so that way you are not tied to some guru for the rest of your life and you have the skills to be able to do this, okay? This is very important, like we just talked about. And so that's why I'm showing you a little bit more so that way you understand exactly how we optimize things for mobile, okay? So you'll see on here, most of this is already optimized. And if you do go ahead and put your pointer on certain things, you'll be able to see that certain things are both for desktop and mobile, right? So let's say, for example, I go over to this blue is for both desktop and mobile. So that means that if I make a change here, let's say, for example, I make this everything you, and I say everything I need to know, okay, just hypothetically, okay? You'll see that this is going to change over here as well. So it goes everything I need to know to hit your goals, okay? Obviously, that doesn't make sense, but I'm just showing you because this specific element is both for desktop and mobile. Versus if I go down to that other element, right? And so if I could just put my cursor over things, you'll see purple, this purple looks like, and I can put settings on here, advanced. This purple is for desktop and mobile. So if I make any change here, it'll show up on both desktop and mobile. Most of these are both desktop and mobile, but then it looks like the testimonials here are specifically, you'll see right there, it says mobile only. And again, sometimes we do that in formatting in order to make it so that way things can be formatted properly. Because right here, you'll see Becky J, if I go ahead and change it to, let's say, Becky A, okay, you'll see that I go back over to mobile, it's not gonna make a difference to this one here because there's actually two of these blue sections. And one of those blue sections, I'm gonna try to explain this in a different way so that way it clicks maybe even better, okay? So we have these blue sections, okay? And we have two of these blue sections, okay? And they're actually duplicated. So what we did is we duplicated the blue section and we made one of those blue sections desktop and we made one of those blue sections mobile only. And so that way we can actually separate the formatting of the desktop version from the mobile version and we can have it formatted a little bit differently, okay? So again, I hope that makes sense, and I know it might sound a little bit complicated, but just stick with it, and if you still have questions around it, if you still get confused about it, reach out to the community members. You can also reach out to ClientKit support because this is gonna be something that they understand themselves as well, so because it's a little bit more technical, it's a part of their platform, they will be able to explain it to you, but I hope this is making sense as you go along here, okay? So what you remember is that in a previous training video, what we did is we said, you know what? We only wanted Becky and Kayla. If that's the case, right? And if you only wanted Becky and Kayla, you're going to have to remember to come over here and you're gonna have to delete Michelle and Terry here. So you gotta come over here, and even though this is mobile only, all you do is you just come delete, and then you come and delete, just like that, okay? And then let's say, for example, you wanted there to be a little bit of space here between Becky and Kayla. So you're gonna go ahead and click on the settings cog. You're gonna go over here to general, and then you're like, you know what? I want there to be a little bit of space there, okay? So what you can do here is you can just, that's gonna increase the padding. Let's go increase the margin a little bit. You'll see it goes ahead and increases a little bit of the margin there, right? So again, we can mess around with what is the margin and the padding in order to be able to go ahead and optimize this the way that we want it to look. And so this is where a lot of people mess up, is that they will create this amazing looking website on the desktop and then they'll never actually optimize it for the mobile. And that is very important. So you'll see on here, we've already gone ahead and done a lot of this work for you, but you just want to go ahead and look it over, because as you're customizing the template in the previous training that we walked you through, you might have customized everything on the desktop side of things, but you hadn't done it yet on the mobile side of things. And what we've done for you already over here is that you'll see the navigation. We've gone ahead and made it a hamburger navigation for you. That's what they call it right there. So that's 3 lines. And then of course, throughout this entire process, make sure you are taking the time to actually go ahead and save. That's going to be very important. And then you can actually go ahead and do a preview. Now here's a little bit of a hack for you, okay? If you ever wanted to know, hey, I want to see what this website is going to look like on mobile, there's 2 ways that you can play around. Sometimes it works one of 2 ways, okay? You can either take the screen and you can go ahead and collapse it, okay? And then you'll see that that hamburger menu came in right there, okay? That's sometimes one way that you can go ahead and do that. The other way, if you wanted to go ahead and see what it might look like on mobile, this might be a little bit more advanced, is you can right click. You can then go over to, I believe it's going to be inspect. Yep, inspect. And then, and again, this looks crazy, right? Don't worry about this. There's this little icon up here, and this applies to Google Chrome, okay? So I don't know how it would work in other browsers, but right over here, there's this little icon. And then if you click on that little icon, it will actually go ahead and convert your website into a mobile website, okay? And so that way you can actually go ahead and see what it would look like on mobile. And then you can kind of drag the screen for different screen sizes on an iPad or something like that, okay? So that's a couple different ways that you can do it. Now, even this is not 100% the best way. Of course, the best way would be to send yourself a link to the actual website and open that up on your phone. That would be like the end all be all, right? That's kind of the way to check it. But sometimes, if you're in a rush, you just want to see something really quickly. But even this method, you see how it's kind of all janky with the text. But then when we actually went into the editor, that's not what it looked like inside of here for mobile, right? So even this method is not 100%, but I did just want to share that with you as a kind of like a hack there if you wanted to see in between what that might look like as a little bit of a pro tip. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're talking about when we talk about optimizing for mobile. You want to go ahead and open up either the funnel page, the website page, page. You want to optimize the section paddings and margins. You can optimize image sizes as well. So for example, on this case, let's say this logo is a little bit too big for my liking, maybe on mobile, right? So maybe what I might do here is I might go ahead and make this, let's say, let's make this like 30, right? Maybe I wanted to make it smaller hypothetically. Now, here's the problem with this. And let me show you, and this is a little bit more advanced, stick with me, but I want you to be able to be equipped with this skill. And again, once you learn it once, you're good forever, which is that if I go to desktop, you'll see that on desktop, it actually made it small as well. Why? Because of what we talked about earlier, which is that this is an element that is on both desktop and mobile, right? It's connected. And so what I might decide to do here is, you know what? This is a perfect example of how I want to change the image size, okay? Or I want to change the text size or whatever on mobile, but I don't want it to affect the desktop view. And so what I do is I go ahead and clone it, okay? And then I have a cloned version right here. And then what I do is for one of these, I'm going to go ahead and make this one desktop, okay? And then that means I just turned off the mobile one over here, okay? And then on this one, I'm going to go ahead and make it mobile. Boom, it disappeared. And so now I actually have two elements. One of those elements is showing up only on desktop, and then the other element is showing on mobile. And so on mobile, I can go ahead and leave the small one right over here at 30 pixels, which is the height. And then over here on desktop, I'm going to go ahead and make this 50 pixels, okay? And so you'll see that it actually keeps this one small because now they're two separate elements, and you'll see that right there, I do in fact have that little mobile only icon there because like you saw, we cloned it. And then after we cloned it, we basically changed the settings for one to show up on mobile only and for one to show up on desktop only. And that is a perfect example of in what situations sometimes we might need to separate the desktop and the mobile by cloning the element or cloning the section and then making it only specific for a specific type of device. I hope that makes sense. I hope this is absolutely clear. This is going to be an invaluable skill so that way you are not caged, you are not handcuffed, you are not a prisoner to some tech guy or some tech guru or some guru in general who's like, hey, you got to pay me $1,000 a month or something crazy like that just to do some basic work on a skill that you can learn, which is just website development, funnel building, website building. It is very, very simple. And once you get a hang of it, trust me, this is a skill that's going to unlock any sort of real estate on the internet for you because you can then go ahead and literally create whatever you want for your businesses on the internet. And as you know, the internet is only going to continue to expand. More and more people are getting on the internet. And so it is not going away anytime soon. This is an invaluable skill for you to be able to learn. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training on optimizing web pages for mobile. Again, if you do have any questions, make sure you reach out to the community. There are plenty of community members who are there to help you, who have maybe already figured this out. And then again, remember, if you already have this figured out, don't be like, yeah, you know what? I don't got to help the community. No. There's going to be something indefinitely that is going to be something that you need help with sometime, somewhere. So if you do not provide back to the community, if you do not help others in the community, then what's going to happen is that you are going to be in a situation in which nobody's going to want to help you when you actually need help. So, hey, even if you don't need help, go out there and help somebody else as well. Okay. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this video on optimizing for mobile. Make sure you always continue to save. Make sure you preview. All of that is very important throughout this entire process. And with that being said, we will catch you in the next training. All right, team, welcome to this training that's going to be walking you through publishing your website live. Now, I do want to go ahead and make this clear that this does also apply to funnels, but we're going ahead and talking about websites right now, but it's very similar to funnels and websites, very similar there. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is literally, this is going to be very easy if you followed along step by step so far in this training, because all we need to do is we need to just make sure that everything is nice and tidy in our website, that we've done everything properly, and then we're just going to go ahead and publish it very, very simply. Okay, so make sure that we want to make sure that our website is actually on our domain name. Okay. And so we've talked about this in a previous training already. If you have not done that, make sure you go ahead and do that right now. But we've talked about going ahead and making sure that it is in fact on your naked domain. So for example, in this case, I have a test domain, theyassin.com. And so that is going to be the naked domain. I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Okay. From there, we do have the path where you can go ahead and set this as /home1, completely up to you. You then want to make sure that you go ahead and hit save. Now you might end up getting something like this because in this case, this test domain I use for a bunch of different test funnels, when we're recording trainings and stuff. So it looks like it is kind of all messed up in regards to where it is, but I just want to show you this, right? So we're going to put this over here, settings. This is the Yasin, and then it says home, and then that home 123 got messed up. Why? Because somewhere in a different website, maybe I do in fact have, I think it might be, is it this one maybe? Settings, no, that's NutriFit Wellness. I might remove this one here, hit the save. Removing the domain name. Yes, I'm sure we're removing the domain name, and we got to hit remove. Okay. So anyways, what I'm showing you here is that if you get an error where it says that, hey, you're using this domain for something else, you might need to go in and check, hey, where else are you using this, right? So in this case, it looks like I might be using this domain for this funnel, and it looks like I might have some other pages that are related to this, right? So you just want to be careful because of course you don't want things to overlap, because then it's just like an address, right? What's happening is that this is your domain. It's like an address, and then there's a path to your domain, right? So for example, you might have your city, and then you have your street, and then you have your address, right? So this domain is kind of like your street, and then on your street you have whatever, your pages that belong on there. And so you got to be careful about having an overlap, because then the internet doesn't know how to send traffic there. So in this case, I'm going to put home 2 because I have a little bit of a mix up. In your case, you can probably put home 1. And then what you're going to do is you just want to go ahead and make sure you go over here, settings. You want to see, okay, I have home over here. In this case, I want this to be just straight up home. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if that saves for me in just a second. So we'll go ahead and see what that looks like. And then I go ahead and click on this, go to settings. And then in this case, you see sometimes it doesn't save. And the reason sometimes it won't save is because of the fact that there is some sort of kind of like disconnect going on with all of the different pages, right? So in this case, it's perfectly fine. If I wanted to just go ahead and make this just, home 1, let's just try home 3, right? So home 3 should stick on there. Now, what we also want to go ahead and do is we want to also go ahead and make sure that we check what our root domain is pointing to. So we go to settings, we then go over here to domains. From there, we're then going to find theyasin.com or whatever your root naked domain is. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to set the default page. This is very important. I'm going to set the default page to, we had the NutriFit Wellness website home right here. Boom, click on that. And then the 404 error page, I'm going to set that as the home as well. And then I'm going to hit save. Very important in order to get your website published and live, okay? Now, what you can do is that you can actually copy this link, and you could type it, and you can put it into an incognito window, right? So you go ahead and click right here, new incognito window. Now, if you don't know what an incognito window is, an incognito window, what it does is it actually goes ahead and shows you a browser, a window into the internet that doesn't have any previous history, any cookies, any information. So it's kind of like a clean slate versus your main window. Right now you're logged into a bunch of stuff. There's some cookies that are saved in that window, all of that stuff, right? So what you do is you open an incognito window, and there's a command hotkey. A hotkey is basically a shortcut on your keyboard, Command Shift N, or you can always just click on the 3 dots and then open it from there. And then I like to go ahead and put it over here and see, you know what? If I go to theyasin.com, is it actually going to show up or not? And boom shakalaka, just like that, you'll see that our website is in fact showing up, and there is our chat widget. There's everything looking nice and clean, and we can go ahead and actually test this on our mobile device as well. Okay, so again, I want to make this very clear. You want to make sure that when you go to your domain, you go over here to settings, domains, find your naked domain, click on the 3 dots, go to edit, okay? And then you want to set up what your default page and your 404 page are going to be. You want to select what those are, and you want to map those to your actual website, okay? And then let me just check over here, sitemap. I think we're good to go here. We don't have to worry about this, okay? And then we also want to go inside of sites, websites, change the settings on here, as well as changing the settings on here as well. Okay, now again, this is only for this specific kind of template that we've shown you, but this same skill applies to any website you ever build. This applies to any funnel you will ever build as well. Now, next up, in addition to the domains, what we're going to also go ahead and do is, as you're going through this entire process, if you don't see in your incognito window the website that you want to see, you want to go open this up, and you want to make sure that you actually hit publish, okay? Because what ends up happening sometimes as we're walking you through all of these changes, we did emphasize hitting save, but publish is kind of like something that you do when you're like, you know what, I want this to be published finally. Now, sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I just hit save and then I hit publish right after that because it's kind of synonymous to each other. But sometimes in some cases, you're like, you know what, I only want to make tweaks and I only want to make changes, but I'm not yet ready to push it live to the internet. If that is the case, then you would only hit save and you would not hit publish, right? But in many cases, you can hit both of them together. And then obviously you have your SEO metadata on there as well. So you hit save, And then I usually just go ahead, and after that saving is done, I then go ahead and hit publish, and then boom, shakalaka, just like that. We then have the website that is live. And again, I'm going to go ahead and emphasize this. This would also be the exact same process for funnels as well, right? So you'd make sure that it's on your actual domain. You then go in and make sure that the path over here is good. You then go in and make sure all of the individual paths, and that's where for funnels it's a little bit different, where on the individual paths for funnels, you have to make sure that it's on the publishing tab as well as on the actual funnel step as well. And we've talked about this in a previous training already, so I'm not going to go through it here, where we talked about updating the page paths and how there is a difference between funnels and websites. So if you're confused about this, if you're like, hey, this is going over my head, make sure you go ahead and go back to that previous training that goes ahead and talks about this. And so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you have followed all of these steps throughout this entire process thus far, then you should have your website live. And most importantly, you also should have each of the individual skills. This is so key, okay? You have each of the individual skills on how to actually build this. We've talked about how to actually pick the template, how to be able to understand what the website builder looks like. We've talked about the SEO metadata. We've talked about the contact us form. We've talked about how to build forms in general, how to add forms as elements onto websites or funnels. We've talked about how to be able to add the website chat, how to be able to connect the domain. We've talked about how to update the page paths, how to be able to go ahead and optimize for mobile. And now we're talking about how to publish this website live, as well as any other steps that you followed along throughout all of these tutorials and trainings. Okay, so you have the skills now to be able to go ahead and build websites, and then on top of that, build funnels and build sales funnels. And of course, we're going to have so many more courses and so many more trainings for you to be able to walk you through. And more importantly, we're going to have so many more templates for you that are going to be so much easier, 80 to 90% of the way there. So it's plug and play for you to be able to go ahead and run your business and be able to go out there and focus on what is most important to you, which is delivering amazing results so you can have the income, impact, and freedom that you are looking for with your clients and in your life. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training on publishing your website live. If you do have any questions, if they are technical related to the platform, make sure you do go ahead and reach out to ClientKit support. And if they are related to something that we have provided you, go ahead and reach out to the community. One of the community members who is a fellow peer with you in the industry will be able to go ahead and help you. So with that being said, we will catch you in the next training.